Прийшли окупанти до нас в Україну, форма новенька, воєнні машини та трохи поплавився їх інвентар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російські танкісти сховались в кущі, щоб лаптем посьорбати довбані щі, та трохи у чах перегрівся навар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Приперли зі сходу до нас барани для восстановлення
великої страни.
Найкращий пастух баранячих отар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Ті, хто води всяке озброєння різне, потужні ракети, машини залізні, у нас на всі доводи є коментар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Вони захопити хотіли нас зразу, а ми зачаїли на орків образу з російських бандитів, робить примар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російська поліція справи заводить, там вбивцю рашистів ніяк не знаходить, хто винен, що в нашому полі глухар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Веде пропаганду кремлівський урод, слова пропаганди ковтає народ, тепер нове слово знає цар.
Байрактар.
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 Yes.
The lead Spring Army sends its regards.
Hello, everyone. I'm the Enforcer, and I'm accompanied by Enforcer Matt.
And good evening, folks. It's Enforcer Matt, and welcome back to day 881 of the news. And it's good to see you all once again. And today, we're hearing of some attacks near the Romanian border and also other big news as well. And it's good to see you all once again.
And of course, we're going to be covering the past 48 hours of the news of the war in Ukraine. And we do have incredibly large news tonight, with the Ukrainians striking and knocking out a Russian ferry within the Kerch Strait area, knocking out the second available ferry route in the region. We now know that the Russians are going to be completely relegated to the use of the Kerch Bridge to supply and continue to use their forces in the area of Crimea. At the exact same time, near to the city of Morozovsk, we were able to see that the Morozovsk airfield has been attacked again, quite significantly by Ukrainian drone forces, and satellite pictures are proving that the damage is very significant and most likely showing that Russian Air Force facilities and Russian Air Force operational abilities in Morozovsk have mostly been damaged or knocked out overnight. We were also able to get major news that the Russian economy is once again starting to go into death throes, as the price of gasoline has risen in the Russian Federation by 44% over the past month and a half, with foreign exports of gasoline from the Russian Federation now being completely banned again by the Russian Federation in wake of the massive economic calamity that's starting to unfold behind the scenes deep inside of the Russian Federation. Meanwhile, we were also able to get news that Britain is preparing for war, and according to statements from the British government, they are planning on their military being at a combat readiness level within the next 3 years, being ready for a major confrontation not just with Russia, but also in the Far East against the Chinese. At the exact same time, we were also able to hear news inside of the area of the Middle East, as Hezbollah is continuing hostile actions against Israel, firing off rockets and mortars into the region of the northern area of the state, and we were also able to hear that in the southern Red Sea, a Ukrainian vessel actually warded off a Houthi kamikaze drone that was attempting to hit the merchant ship and sink it within the area, showing that the Houthis are rogue and attacking literally anyone and everyone that is within their way. And at the exact same time, we have been able to hear just moments before the stream went live that a Russian drone may have landed on the Romanian side of the Danube River, which means technically NATO would be under fire. But I would like to say that we have heard that there are reports that one of these drones may have hit on the Romanian side of the Danube, which isn't unlikely, and we have seen it happen before, but it is still a very concerning situation when it does happen. But we will be going into all of those video clips and bits of news when we get to that area of the news. We're, of course, going to be moving from the most breaking news stories into the frontline action and news that we get every single day. But there is also another big piece of breaking news that we have to put out for all of y'all that actually pertains directly to this channel and directly to one of the hosts of this stream that is here with me tonight. Matthew's birthday was actually yesterday. I want to put that out there, but we are celebrating Matthew's birthday on the stream tonight. And so I gotta say, of course, a huge happy birthday to Enforcer Matt. I hope he had a great one yesterday. This is a bit of a belated birthday for everyone else who watches and enjoys the stream, but I hope that everyone wishes Enforcer Matt a happy birthday. Matthew turned 24 years old as of yesterday. He's getting on up there in age, and I am too, and I'm getting really scared. But beyond that, I'm just
also a huge shout out to everybody as well for the happy birthday wishes. I did have a good one yesterday, and of course today is not my birthday, but we had to sort of like plan it a little bit differently because yesterday was our day off. But huge shout out to everybody for the birthday wishes. It means a lot, and also thank you very much.
And of course, I love to see that everyone's wishing him a happy birthday. Just wanted to put that out there for y'all to know. This is officially going to be Enforcer Matt's birthday stream tonight because mine was actually held on the 15th of February, which is my birthday. But for Matthew, considering that his was on the 22nd and we didn't run a stream that day, which was kind of nice because we actually got to celebrate his birthday instead of work all day, we are celebrating his birthday on air tonight. But moving on from
I'm getting so old.
Man, the happy birthdays are coming in a million miles an hour, man. I'm looking at that chat. I'm like, geez, you can't even moderate that right now. It's just going like on its own speed, doing its own. Wait a minute, did someone just get banned? Like, wait a minute, I just saw that. I was like, this speed. Dude, I just saw the Nightbot get someone. That's what it was. I was like, what the hell? I was like, you're banning people at this speed? But anyways, moving on from that, it is time for us to get into the major breaking news. And moving us down into the area of the Kerch Strait, we were able to get the very good report from Visegrad 24 that the Russian ferry crossings have been hit. According to what Visegrad 24 put out, Ukrainian drones struck a Russian ferry in the port of Kavkaz in the region of Krasnodar. The ferry is used to transport equipment to Russian-occupied Crimea, and local authorities said that there was dead and wounded at the time that this report came out. I want to show you all the ferries that we're talking about because there's something a little bit confusing about the story. The Ukrainians already hit the ferries a while ago, but there are actually two separate ferry routes that are used in this area by the Russian Federation. One of them is a road ferry, the other is a railroad ferry. We can actually see both of these at Kavkaz port in this satellite picture. This is the railroad ferry, and these are used specifically to load up Russian railroad trains that are, of course, waiting to be transported across the strait. They load those onto the railroad ferry, and then they transport those to the other side of the strait. Then there is the road ferry, and we can see one of these right here. This is kind of your standard ferry, if you want to call it that. This is used for the commercial transportation of goods across the strait. It doesn't really do a lot of transportation of, say, like civilians or civilian vehicles, if you want to call it that, like automobiles, cars, things like that. They don't really transport those a lot. It's mostly just semi-trucks that they transport backwards and forwards across the strait on this particular ferry. But nevertheless, this one, the road ferry that we're looking at right here, is the one that was hit, because the railroad ferries already were hit about, I think, 2 months ago at this point, with 3 of them actually getting hit pretty badly and pretty much sinking at their moorings. And from what we understand, the railroad ferries are still not usable at this moment because none of the ports have really been cleared out of those ferries, from what we know, at least according to public information. And so for that reason, the only operational ferry route is the road ferry that we're seeing right here. And that one was now hit today as well. And we were able to see on the footage the Kerch railway strait on fire, and we can see it right there. That thing is burning.
Man, that thing's a huge fire right there. That's a very bad for the ferry business, I must say.
Man, I'm telling you, it's horrific for the ferry business. And not only that, you can also see that this isn't just anywhere, Matthew. This is on the ship. Like, you can actually see the front of the ship right here where the bridge is, right up there, and also the communication masts. And then you can see that the fire is literally on the deck of the ship. So whatever hit it hit the ship dead center, and it's most likely going to burn through and take on some considerable damage, and it may even take on some water as well, and begin to sink where it is moored at this moment. That is a pretty good thing for Ukraine, considering that on into the future, the railroad passages and the road passages for the ferries across the strait have been knocked out for the large part, or are going to be operating at a very reduced capacity. And for that reason, that means that the Russians will only have the Kerch railroad bridge to work off of, which is once again starting to eke its way up into being a major strategic target for Ukraine, as this is really the only usable crossing of the Kerch Strait left, although it's incredibly vulnerable to attack, and it can be knocked out at pretty much any given moment at this point in the war. But it is going to be pretty much Russia's last hope to be able to have some sort of supply going into Crimea, or some form of escape if things were to start to go wildly bad on into the future. But this is something that I really want to point out, is that the Russians are, of course, funneling more weapons and equipment into Crimea as we speak right now. And from what we would assume, a lot of it is probably going to be passing over the Kerch railway bridge here in the next few days because of the ferry attack that just happened, most likely blocking off that port access. And we can see that the Russians are barreling in more and more T-62s. It is an unending amount of them. These actually look like they have been renovated significantly, so it looks like the Russians are putting in a lot more effort into trying to get these T-62s into an operational condition, which is also telling us something really important. They are putting a lot more effort, and for that reason, a lot more expense into maintaining and upgrading these T-62Ms to be frontline serviceable, probably because they are running out of tanks. They're probably going to have to start being a lot more conservative with how they use their tanks on the battlefield, and so they've decided that if these tanks are going to be around for a long time at this point, of course being conservatively used, and the Russians pretty much running out of armor in the background deep inside of Russia, they've probably decided that it would be better just to put extra money and extra time into these tanks to make them a little bit of a better quality, so that way when they go into Ukraine and when they're held around for a while, they don't end up breaking down frequently and end up being a massive attrition rate on their forces. But we can see it passing on through the station right here. And we can actually see a very rare T-62BV. Usually they're T-62Ms, but that was pretty interesting to see. We can also see more T-62Ms, All of them have been outfitted with cope cages, and it appears that the cope cages may even have some sort of ERA tiles stacked on top of them. And we see these Russian railway cars. Man, those look rough, man. Those are from like the days of Stalin, man. But we can see more.
Those are so tough. Also, by the way, if y'all wondering why I'm so quiet, there's so many messages coming in right now. I'm trying to keep up with it. I want to say real quick before we go any further, huge shout out to everybody in the live chat for all the happy birthday wishes. It really means a lot to see so many people saying happy birthday, and I don't want to just ignore it. Now, huge thanks to all of you for that, and I really do appreciate it. It was a good birthday yesterday. I'm getting so old. Like, it's weird. When you hit 24 years old, you know, some people will be like, oh, that's young, like you barely like done anything yet. And that's true. But at 24, it starts feeling like you're getting old real quick, and you're like, damn, time's really flying. It's like, where's it going? It's like crazy. But thank you all, seriously.
Man, it's going into working on this show, man. That's like the crazy thing.
Yeah.
Because when I started this show, y'all, this is a crazy thing. I'm 22 now. I think when I started the show, I was 20. That's actually crazy. Actually, no. Yeah, I was 20. I had just turned 20 when I started doing this. And literally, like, what's crazy about that is that my birthday was on the 15th of February. I had my birthday, and then not less than 10 days later, on the 23rd of February, the war in Ukraine began. I had just turned 20. I was almost 19 still. And that's when I started doing this. And now time has flown. It doesn't feel like any time has passed since then, since I turned 20 pretty much. And it still feels like it's around that time. But what's crazy is that I'm now 22, about to be moving on to 23, and Matthew's turned 24. When this first started, I think Matthew was 22. No, you were 21 when the war
I was
first
21
started.
actually.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about. That's absolutely insane. But nevertheless, moving on from that, I do have to thank everyone for the massive birthday wishes. That is incredibly kind of y'all. And I got to say, what a birthday it was. It was incredibly fun. We had some delicious kind of like cake-like stuff.
Cookies.
Like cookies, pretty much. Don't want to say the brand, though, but we had some cookies. We had some pretty good food. We had some really, really good food. It was Shalotsky's, and it was just killer good. So it was a really good birthday all around. But anyways, with that, we can see that the Russians are desperate for tanks. A lot like Matthew and me are desperate for more time, because time is running out. But moving on from that, on up into the area of Morozovsk, we were able to see a crippling attack occur against the Russian Air Force here at Morozovsk Airfield. This is the airfield in question. This is the wonderful and beautiful airfield of Morozovsk, used by the Russian Federation to keep their frontline bombers going. They usually house a fleet of Su-34s here at this base. Technically, it would be some sort of a fighter bomber brigade of the Russian Air Force, but we can see a large amount of them stored here at this airbase, getting ready to conduct sorties on Ukraine when this very satellite picture was taken in the latter part of 2023. What's very interesting about this is that Morozovsk has been attacked multiple times over the course of the war, and it seems as though it is becoming a major #1 target as the war keeps going. And we were able to see video footage today of Ukrainian drones once again impacting the airbase. This footage was actually taken from Morozovsk, looking towards the actual airfield near Morozovsk, as Ukrainian drones slam down again and again, knocking out more Russian airbase facilities at Morozovsk. Here's the clip.
Цистерны, блядь, попали.
Наверное, на сейме, наверное,
Тут
лупануло.
снимаешь, уже не видно.
Ну, вон видно, что надо. Вот, по сейму надолбанули.
Ай-яй-яй.
Вон, ля, какой дым попер, на.
То есть,
That's how I sound when I first wake up.
Вот там же дым шел, и сейчас, смотри, вот сейчас, тоже место, считай, лупанули, на. Вон, горит там, на. Ля сильно горит. Точно, это тоже, на.
куда-то попали.
But that's the end of that clip, and we could see two independent explosions happening at Morozovsk during that clip. And we were also able to see very quickly, by the way, this was one of the quickest times I've seen Maxar satellite footage come out. Wow, it's one hell of a satellite. But here's the airfield right before the attack. Here's the airfield after the attack. There was some cloud cover, which made it a little bit difficult to see the exact details of the damage that happened, but we can see 5 independent areas where hits were registered on the airfield because of the massive burn scars that are on the ground down there. We're getting the idea that apparently an S-300 or an S-400 air defense system may have been knocked out down there. We believe it was down here at the bottom left corner of the airfield. That's usually where they station those kinds of air defense systems. So if they were able to knock it out, that is incredibly good news. They also hit some sort of a facility in between the runway and the taxiway. They also hit a ramp where a Su-34 was being held, and they hit a couple of facilities at the airbase as well that are meant to maintain those aircraft and keep them flying. From what we understand, the damage was very significant. And it's once again showing this that Ukraine is conducting an anti-air campaign against the Russians, starting off from the ground up, literally, as they attack the Russian airbase while they're sitting on the ground. And they're also attempting to try and knock out the Russian Air Force while they're in the skies above Ukraine, which they actually did incredibly well with today, as they were able to shoot down an Su-25 operating near to the area of Pokrovsk. But still, very good to see that the Ukrainians were able to conduct this kind of damage, and it is once again showing us that the Ukrainian armed forces are doing an incredibly good job. It's one that actually we're pretty shocked about, because it has to be infuriating Vladimir Putin quite considerably, considering that the war is literally blowing up in his face just about every single day as far as how all of this is going. And we've seen that the Russians have started to once again lash out in anger against the West, or really against Ukraine and the West, by conducting attacks along the Danube River again. Many people may know that the Russians have conducted multiple attacks along the area of the Danube River, particularly targeting the port cities of Izmail and also the city of Renai, further north, right along the Moldovan-Romanian border. From what we understand, the Russians have done this again, just moments before we went live on stream, and we were able to get 2 clips from the area of Izmail showing that Russian drones had in fact landed and detonated in the area, and from what we can tell, it seems like one of the drones may have veered off course, as they usually did in the past, and ended up striking an area inside of Romania. And we'll show y'all where we believe that area is here in a moment. And we see the explosions in the distance from Izmail.
It's been a good minute since Russia's attacked this port. I think it was like 6 months to a year ago the last time they attacked it. So this is pretty rare for the recent days.
Yeah, it's incredibly rare. We haven't seen this since last year for sure. And then here's another clip showing the attacks on Izmail.
And it literally looks like the exact same place it was hit last time. This is the exact place where the video was taken last time that we saw about a year ago. So kind of weird.
Yeah, also, Matthew, did you hear Forrest Gump? Listen really closely. Wait, what in the world is there an American out there? Whoa! What the? It's like, what the hell?
A drunk one.
Yeah, and he's drunk. He's plastered on the Danube. This has got to be a Viking River cruise or something like that. But beyond that, we did hear a supposed report, and I want to make sure that we make this very clear. It's a supposed report that one of these drone explosions actually happened on the other side of the Danube in Romania. We can actually see a closer clip here of one of the fires inside of Izmail port, as the drone was able to evade air defense and hit its target. But from what we know, if a Russian drone did hit Romania, we have a really good idea of where it hit, because multiple drones have hit in this exact same area multiple times. It's most likely in this little area right here, this peninsula that juts out north and westwards into the Danube River. That's most likely where the Russian drone would have blown up at. They usually blew up there in the past, so we're assuming that it most likely hit within one of these unpopulated fields again. But technically, that does mean that a Russian bomb has hit a NATO country, has hit NATO sovereign territory, and if you wanted to spin it the right way, that is once again NATO coming under fire from the Russian Federation, if the report is correct that a Russian drone did hit once again in this area. And we don't really have reason to doubt that report too heavily to not report it. That's why we're reporting it, is because it's happened before multiple times. From my count, I believe it happened around 8 individual times in this exact same area in the past. So it's not unlikely or unheard of to think that a Russian bomb would have exploded on Romanian territory, but it's once again looking to some like it could be a message that is being sent. And it looks as though the British are really starting to pick up on some sort of messaging, or some sort of an idea that even if the war in Ukraine ends, whether it be in Russian victory or Russian defeat, things might not be looking that well in Europe into the future. And Britain has said that they must be ready for war within 3 years. Let me make sure to read y'all the exact quote that we had from Noel Reports speaking on the situation. Britain's army must be prepared within 3 years to potentially fight a war against a coalition of Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea, according to General Sir Raleigh Walker. Raleigh Walker. I'm not really sure how you pronounce that, Raleigh or Raleigh. But he warned that Putin, regardless of the outcome in Ukraine, will seek retribution against supporters of Ukraine, including the United Kingdom. This is a very interesting statement, and it is starting to show that the Western world is believing, at least in a sense, at least for Britain, that no matter how this conflict ends, whether it be to Ukraine's benefit or their detriment, and to the West's benefit or detriment, the war will not end there, and it will expand into further regions, and it will start to envelop the entirety of Eastern Europe, and possibly even the far reaches of the world, developing into a full-blown world war years on into the future, about 3 years out. A lot of people have been talking about this, and a lot of people are wondering, would Putin try and attack NATO to seek revenge for the war, whether it went well or bad? Well, really, if it went well, would he continue on his imperial ambitions throughout the rest of Eastern Europe? And if it went poorly, would Putin start to try and seek a war of retribution against the against the Western world? We don't really know. And that is something that a lot of people have been talking about, and a lot of people have been throwing their opinions out about. But Matthew, what are people saying about that, and what are you thinking about it? Do you think that a possible conflict in the future is inevitable at this point, or do you think that it can be avoided?
So on this one, it looks like 42% of the audience said, I agree, Putin will get revenge regardless of what happens in Ukraine, while 31% said, it really sounds like fear-mongering by the UK Army General, and 14% said, I disagree, and Putin will stop at Ukraine. And on this one to me is a little bit on the fence, because to me, it's really not about what Putin wants. It's whether or not Putin can actually get his coalition together, meaning China, Iran, obviously Russia, because Putin's the president of Russia, and other places as well. Can they get all these Axis powers together to be able to pull something off? Because Putin on his own is not going to be able to go up against NATO. That's simply not going to happen, and Putin has admitted before that that would be a losing fight for the Russians. So unless Putin's ready to go nuclear, I don't see Putin deciding to attack NATO just on his lonesome. So for me, I would say Putin will try to get revenge. I'm pretty certain that he will definitely try that, but he will have to get the backing of his allies before he does it. And right now, it's really hard to tell exactly how close China, Russia, and also Iran really are. Obviously, they're helping each other out, but would they go as far as to start a world war to basically facilitate each other's friendships? I don't really know that at the moment, and that's the open question. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that, in my opinion, I do not think that Putin would continue on a war of revenge, because what kind of, like how in the world would the revenge be exacted by Russia losing a even larger and more devastating war? That seems like it would almost be like, how would I explain that? That almost seems like it'd be self-destructive to a point, and there's only so far that a country can go until they just have to fold and walk away from the game. And I think at that point, the Russians would literally be folding on themselves and walking away from the game if they began a war with the West. Even if we were to say that every single country in the Western sphere, hypothetically, was entirely incompetent, and it was just the United States would steamroll Russia. Let's just go with everyone's incompetent, including the United States, and it's literally just Poland that's the only competent country in the entirety of NATO. Poland would steamroll Russia. Let's just say that it's only Germany that is the competent one in NATO, and everyone else was incompetent. Russia would still lose. Russia will lose really on a one-on-one fight against most major NATO members, including really anyone that you would like to call out. France, Germany, Poland, the United Kingdom, the United States, Canada, Italy. They would lose, Turkey even, they would lose in a one-on-one war with any of those countries, much less the entire combined alliance of them. And so I would have to say that I do not believe that a war from Russia against the West will happen anytime in the near future. And the war in Ukraine has already shown that a half-baked attempt at introducing Western weaponry and an older variety of Western weaponry into a modern war against Russia is devastating to the Russian Federation's army, because they're so outdated technologically and doctrinally that there's really no way for them to combat or deal with Western weaponry on the open battlefield. So in my opinion, I would have to say there's no chance of a conflict, a very, very low chance at that, in the future of the Russians trying to conduct a war with the rest of the Western world. I think this war has taught them a lot, and it's not to mess with the West. But with
I personally wouldn't say the chances are super low or minuscule. I would say the chances are pretty decent. But like I said, it all hinges on whether or not they can get their allies together to actually fight a war against NATO, which would be a tremendously difficult war for not only NATO, but also for the Russians, Chinese, the Iranians, and everyone else. That would be a war that really no one wants to fight. But I'm pretty confident that Putin would like to get revenge right now because Putin is like going off the deep end. Nothing he's doing makes any sense, really. And he keeps making these fainted attempts at peace in Ukraine that really aren't real. He doesn't intend to actually make peace because he wants to take land. And as Zelensky's already said, that's really not going to work. So it's just kind of strange to me. Also, I will note that it's very unusual for the UK army or generals or chiefs to come out and actually make a statement like this in the public. That is actually somewhat rare. So I put a little bit of stock in this. So he says it could be 3 years that maybe Russia and these allies decide to do something. That does ring a little bit unique to me. So I wouldn't be so quick to write it off altogether, but it is a long way off, maybe 3 years before it happens. But we should be prepared for the worst case scenario anyway, and simply, not hedge all of our bets on this actually happening or not.
I would have to say, actually adding on to that, I would have to say if that general made that statement for any particular reason, and I'm saying this not in a political vein, but I'm going to use that word, I think that this general said that with a political purpose in mind. We do have to keep in mind, of course, we can't go into politics in the United Kingdom, but it would be completely ignorant of me to not state that a brand new government has been formed in the United Kingdom. Many of y'all most likely saw that quite recently, and with that new government comes the possibility of new kinds of actions that could be made. And considering that this general has made these statements not too long after the new government was formed, I'm assuming that this is an attempt to try and bring it up into the public sphere in the United Kingdom to put pressure on the members of parliament to begin a remilitarization campaign inside the United Kingdom. I have a feeling that that may be the aim because, once again, we do have to keep in mind that the United Kingdom's armed forces are at their lowest that they've really ever been. The Navy is the smallest it's ever really been in recent history over the past few hundred years. The British Army is also at its smallest since the 1700s. The Royal Air Force is also fairly, well, it's not really that small, but it's fairly small compared to other times in its history, even up through the 1980s and 90s, and really even into the 2000s, it's a lot smaller. And so this may be an attempt to begin the idea or the concept like Britain used to have about 30 years ago of a state of constant readiness, which a lot of countries emphasize, like the United States, where we keep an incredibly large standing army, so that way if a conflict begins, we're already pretty much pre-mobilized, in a sense, to begin a conflict at full force. And I think that's what that general statement may be trying to aim, is to sway the new government into possibly supporting remilitarization efforts. And the British government does have a fairly difficult time with remilitarization. Over the past 60 to 70 years since World War II, Britain has made some very interesting decisions over the course of its armed forces history that has kind of wrecked the British war industry, to put it lightly. Many of the companies that used to exist, for example, Lee Enfield, or really Royal Enfield, I believe it was. I'm not really sure the exact name. It was the Enfield Arms Company, that's what it was. They actually went out of business a while ago because the British government didn't really fund them enough, and so they ended up just not having enough funds to exist, and so they kind of collapsed. And a lot of the British shipbuilders that build British warships are also in a fairly similar strait, and that's why the brand new aircraft carriers that Britain got, well, at least the HMS Prince of Wales, has run into a decent bit of issues in its very short service life, is because those shipbuilders have been so undercut and underfunded before they commissioned that aircraft carrier that the workers working on it were not exactly the most skilled there were, and so there were some inherent structural flaws with the vessel that are still being tended to, like its springing leaks, which is kind of a little bit normal for the Prince of Wales. But anyways, beyond that, I would say that that's probably for that aim, is to try and make Britain a nation with teeth, much like it was back in the 90s when they joined us in the Gulf War, because it was the Americans and British who pretty much carried the majority of the weight in the coalition that fought against Saddam Hussein's Iraq in 1991. But with that,
You know, also one more thing. I don't want to rabbit hole too deep here, but I was sitting here thinking, I was trying to put myself in the shoes of the UK general, why he would make this statement, and also to see where his argument might really be coming from. I noticed in his statement, he specifically said, we need to prepare within 3 years to potentially fight a war against a coalition of Russia, China, Iran, and also North Korea as well. One thing I noticed, all of those parties right there, Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea, they all have some land ambitions that they want to take out. Like, for example, China wants Taiwan, Iran wants to take out Israel, and North Korea wants to take South Korea. So I'm wondering if maybe the British general is thinking that the perfect storm is brewing in the next 3 years for all those parties to work together to help each other take their own land ambitions and make that actually a reality, actually take these new pieces of land. That could be what he's thinking. Now, I think actually on that line of thinking, he actually might be correct. Because if they all want to work together, they have a chance to actually cause some hell around the world and maybe potentially take some of those pieces of land if they all pool their like pitiful resources together and try that. They could have a chance.
They could, and that's probably a fairly good assumption on his end that some kind of a major conflict will begin somewhere. And considering that the UK and America pretty much go where the other one goes, if the United States ever got involved in the Middle East, the UK would most likely be soon to follow, most likely within days or maybe even hours after actual US actions begin. Because I would like to keep in mind, to back up that idea, just as a quick example, back during the time that the 3 US service members were killed at Entente at Tower 52, not only was the United States conducting air operations over the Middle East, but the Royal Air Force of the United Kingdom was as well, simultaneously striking targets within Houthi-controlled Yemen and also within the areas of Syria and Iraq as well. So it does show that the British are pretty heavily involved in whatever the Americans' actions are militarily. The British usually follow suit at the exact same time or operate jointly with the United States. But with that, I hope that does address that the best we can, at least in my opinion. And with that, we're going to be moving on really quickly into something else that's been a little interesting. Down in the area of the Middle East, we have seen that hostile actions are still continuing by Hezbollah against northern Israel, as we've seen that more rockets have flown across the border today, and the Iron Dome went and intercepted them on film. Here is some video footage of the Iron Dome working overnight. It's always mesmerizing to watch the Iron Dome at work. From what we understand, they were able to shoot down almost all of the incoming air targets. We believe all of them, but we can't say that with certainty. And that's the end of that clip, but I gotta say, it's looking as though things are continuing to heat up in between the Hezbollah forces in southern Lebanon and also the Israelis. We have not seen a ground invasion begin of Lebanon yet, and to be quite honest with y'all, I don't really know when one would start. But it still does seem as though the region is moving into a warlike state still, or really is in a warlike state. It's just a matter of time until something happens. I'm not going to give a timetable anymore of when it's going to happen, because to be quite honest, we put out a timetable. Well, I did. I said that it would be weeks or maybe a few months, and a few months have almost passed at this point, and we're still not seeing a ground invasion having begun. We have seen a massive buildup of Israeli forces along the border, and we have clearly seen this by Hezbollah footage as well, but we've never seen them actually commit their forces into moving into southern Lebanon and advancing to the banks of the Litani River. So at this moment, we are still waiting for that to happen, but it does seem as though there is a decent amount of tensions that are continuing to rise in this area, and it looks as though it is still at the brink of war against the Iranian-backed proxy groups. Meanwhile, on the other side of the Arabian Peninsula, down in the southern Red Sea off the coast of Yemen, we got to see that a Ukrainian merchant ship actually ended up repelling a Houthi drone today. And when I say repel, they actually just blew it up with some fouls. Also, by the way, got to give a huge shout out to them using fouls. Me personally, I like the rifle. Good to see them using it. But here's the clip. You see them shooting at the drone, which is chasing right behind the merchant ship. And boom!
Oh, dang. It threw shrapnel everywhere, it looked like. And also, I didn't even know the Houthis had drones.
They do. I gotta say, it's really shocking, like, to see that they have drones. Like, they actually use the same kind of, at least concept of a kamikaze drone that Ukraine uses against the Russian fleet. So it's like, that's really interesting to see.
Man, all I know is if you want ship security, hire some Ukrainians. That's where it's at.
Yeah.
Good job, блядь.
Oh, victory horn.
That's actually some kind of an alarm, man. Like, listen to that in the background. You hear... Listen.
Man, they were a little bit late with the alarm, I think.
Yeah, dude, the explosion happened. The captain woke up. He went, sound the alarm. It's just like, wait a minute, it's late. It's already gone. It blew up. We're all good. But anyways, that's the end of that clip. But it's still showing that tensions within this area are still pretty high, and it's a little bit of a dangerous area to be in at the moment, especially if you're towards the southern end of the Arabian Peninsula or towards the northern end of the Arabian Peninsula. Either way, pick your poison. But moving on from that and back up into the area around Romania, we also got to hear that Hungary is blocking Ukraine war support again. They are doing it again, but this time it seems as though they are doing it because the brain inside of this massively bulbous forehead came up with something very interesting today. According to what has happened recently, Ukraine actually shut off a pipeline traveling from Russia to Hungary through Ukraine called the Druzhba pipeline. The Druzhba pipeline provides different kinds of products that Lukoil provides to Hungary and Slovakia, and Ukraine closing that off means that Hungary has now lost its supply of Russian oil. And according to this, this has apparently pissed off the Hungarians, and they are now saying that they want the Ukrainians to open up the Lukoil oil transit line through Druzhba, and they're also going to be convening, Hungary and Slovakia are also going to be convening the European Commission committee to talk about this and see what can be done, if anything, at this matter, with Ukraine shutting off the Druzhba pipeline. But it seems as though they aren't happy. And I gotta say, man, I have never seen a forehead that big in my life. Like, that's crazy.
Man, I'll tell you what, he's hungry.
Man, I don't know, man. Like, with that, like, you know, I'm trying to figure out what in the hell do you even call that. Man, he's Brainiac. He's that mouse, man. Hang on.
He's Pinky and the Brain.
Yeah. Pinky and the Brain. Hang on. I gotta go get it. He is this rat right here.
Oh, man. Man, I tell you what, that's a violation. If he wasn't from Hungary, we probably wouldn't violate him like that, but he's from Hungary, of course.
Yeah, he is from Hungary, and Hungary isn't really that popular these days, but the man's got a forehead on him. I mean, Megamind. Someone called him Megamind. Oh, man, that's a pretty good one. But still, it is indeed Megamind. But still, with that, we're now going to be moving on from that Hungarian news, and we're going to be circling back down there into that Danube River area, because a lot of people are talking about that attack near the border, and a lot of people are wondering, is Russia testing NATO again? Is this going to be some kind of a test of NATO's resolve, seeing if they'll turn the other cheek, or something along those lines? And a lot of people are putting in a lot of comments on this, and a lot of people are actually thinking that this may be a test of NATO's resolve. Some others are saying that they were only trying to target Ukrainian ports along the Danube, but a lot of people have many different opinions on this. And Matthew, what are people thinking, and what are you thinking as well about this?
All right, so after we've seen that just before the stream went live, we saw attacks happening right there near the port of Izmail in Ukraine, which is right there on the Romanian border. The big question is Russia testing NATO once again? It looks like 54% of the people said, yes, it's a test of NATO's resolve, while 34% said, no, it's mainly targeting the Ukrainian port. And one thing I want to note as well is we heard reports that Romania had dispatched fighter jets to the border as well, and there were rumors that maybe one of the drones from Russia might have crossed into Romania once again like it did last year, and maybe exploded somewhere in their territory. That's unconfirmed as of the moment, but that could be a possibility indeed. So for me, though, I would say that it's probably mainly Russia targeting Ukrainian ports. And it's probably just Russian incompetence if one did cross the border. It's probably not intentional, and it's probably just, once again, really bad targeting, and it's probably what it is. So I'm with it 33%. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that I would agree. It most likely is Russia targeting Ukrainian ports. They are pretty incompetent, and considering that they've stricken the same place about 8 times, this time will most likely have made the 9th, if my count is correct. I would have to say that this is most likely just some acts of Russian stupidity, and they probably don't know how to guide the drones that well. Still, I wouldn't take this all too lightly, considering that these are explosions inside of NATO territory. I would still have some sort of a response, or threaten to shoot down these drones if they get close to the Danube River area, considering that there's a history that there is a decent amount of danger and jeopardy that is present every single time a Russian attack occurs on the Danube for the Romanian citizens that live inside of a whole different country, Romania, and are subject not only to Romanian protection, but also to the protection of the NATO alliance as a whole. So I would say that while it may not be something intentional, we should treat it as though it is something that is intentional or represents a great danger to citizens within a NATO country. But with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. And before we move on into the rest of the news that we have, because we have lots of it. Well, I mean, like, we have moved around as much as we can, and we still have a lot to go. We actually have a little bit of news in China, and then we have to return back into Russia, cover some Russian news, and then finally we get on into the Frontline news. So we have loads of news to cover still, but I want to make sure before we get on into the rest of these loads of news that we talk about something that has been absolutely wild. I have never seen this many super chats come in this quickly in a stream. No joke. This is the fastest we've ever seen, and I gotta say, I know that they're all happy birthday wishes to Matthew, so we are going into that with that in mind. But still, Matthew, what do we got?
All right, so jumping into our super chat segment here, we have a very generous, massive $200 donation from none other than BC Skyman, the channel legend. And thank you very much, BC, for that $200 support. He says, happy birthday to Matt, and buy you something cool. And thank you very much, BC, for the birthday wishes. And the $200, thank you. First of all, thank you very much for the birthday gift as well. That might have to go toward the Matt Lotta Fund. Matt might want to upgrade the Lotta to, what's the big Lotta? The Lotta Neva, I think it is, or something like that.
Man, get that Buhanka, man. Get that.
Man, a Buhanka. I might have to get a Buhanka and wrap it with the Enforcer on it. BC Skyman, this is going toward the company Lotta Fund, or the Buhanka Fund, or the Scooby-Doo Van Fund, or something like that. But thank you very much, BC, in all seriousness, for that support, and I appreciate it very much. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I gotta say, thank you so much for that unbelievably massive support, BC Skyman, and wishing Enforcer Matt a happy birthday. He had a really good one yesterday. Like, our birthdays here at this house consist of, okay, sit down, read the cards. Read the cards. Oh, thank you. Here you go. Here is dessert of choice. You have dessert of choice. Birthday's over. Like, that's literally
That's the way I like it, man. I honestly don't like having a big birthday. I like to keep it simple, and in fact, I like to just have like a really, honestly, a normal day. I've never been huge on like having a huge birthday party or something like that. I just don't like all the attention, to be perfectly honest. But I do appreciate all the happy birthday wishes. It means a lot. It means a lot, and thank you all very much.
Yeah, but that is how all of our birthdays go. Like, a lot of people would think, oh, you must have gone out. You know, you must have celebrated, gone to like a restaurant or something. No, no, our birthdays never work like that. Like, hell, on my birthday, I literally worked all day. I made a Shore War video that day, and then I worked on some other stuff, and then I had a birthday for like maybe an hour. Like, it was really like 40 minutes or so, and then I got back to work, and then I ran a stream that night. So I didn't really have that much of a birthday, but it's fine. It's not like we're doing anything else. And then Matthew's birthday was just kind of like cards. We had cookies, and then that was it. Like, that was literally the whole birthday, and then everyone just, went all their separate ways, and then we all went back pretty much to doing whatever we were doing. But I gotta say, a huge thank you, BC Skyman, for wishing him a happy birthday. It is great to know that so many people wish both of us a happy birthday, because when my birthday was around, we got the same thing as we're seeing right now, and it's wonderful to know that y'all all greatly appreciate Enforcer Matt and me, and wish us all happy birthdays when it comes around, because it's very touching and it's very nice thing to see. And so, huge thanks to you once again, BC Skyman, for the support. I hope that does address that well. And it looks like we are going to be getting Matthew a brand new Lotta. And so, with that, we're now going to be moving on to the next one. But a huge thank you once again. And Matthew, what do we got for the next one?
All right, and also, by the way, like, I even opted just to do cookies for my birthday this year. I was like, I don't even want a birthday cake, I just want the cookies, and that's what I got. And actually, honestly, to be perfectly honest with you, after you've had birthday cake a couple of different times, like, the cookies were just like really honestly better than the cake at this point because you can get caked out. And I think I've been caked out. But you know what? The marmot's caked up. But anyways, moving on to our next super chat here. We have a $200 donation from Scott Wilson, 2008. And thank you very much, Scott Wilson, for that support. And he says, have the happiest of birthdays and happy birthday. And thank you very much, Scott. I appreciate it very much. I did have a happy birthday. And of course, big thanks to you as well. And Enforcer, what say you?
I gotta say, a huge thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. I gotta say that it is wonderful to know, Scott Wilson 2008, that you're supporting the channel and helping it to keep on running, and wishing Matthew the happiest of birthdays. He had a great one, and I gotta thank you so much for wishing that he had a good one. And I guess today is kind of like the day after the birthday, considering that we're talking about it on air. So it's even a great day today because, I mean, hell, you went to the grocery store. Like, no joke, he actually went to the grocery store today. So I guess that was fun. But anyways, still,
man, Walmart. I'm telling you what, I love going to Walmart. It's so much fun.
Man, I'm telling you what, man, you going to Walmart. I mean, Walmart's a trip, man. Like, you can't diss on Walmart too much because Walmart is a trip every single time.
It's gotten better. Walmart used to honestly be kind of like a little bit rough. I'm not going to lie about that or try to sugarcoat it. So most people know what I'm talking about. But for some reason, Walmart's been improving here recently. So I'm glad to see that because the prices of other grocery stores are getting insane. So I've been going back to Walmart now, and because they're actually reasonably priced somewhat. But still, groceries have gotten crazy expensive. But Walmart's getting better too, luckily.
Man, I'm telling you what, man. But still, thank you so much once again for that massive support, Scott Wilson 2008. I hope that does address that the best I can, at least in my opinion. And with that, we are now moving on to the last question of this segment, which is actually from Scott Wilson 2008 as well. And then we're moving on back into the news. So what do we got, Matthew?
All right, and Scott Wilson, 2008, put in another $100 donation. And thank you very much, Scott, once again, for the massive support. He said, help our Ukrainian friends, as I know you will. And this, I hope, will help. And hopefully, you do something for Israel.
Hey, thank you so much for the support, Scott Wilson 2008. And I gotta say, your support does help this channel to keep on running. And I would like to make that very clear because I'm not really sure if that super chat is saying that you want that to go to supporting Ukraine or Israel. We make sure to divide up the support as best as we can, as clearly as possible. Any super chat sent in, never, I want to make sure to say this, never have the expectation that that's going to help Ukraine, because the reality is that that's how we make our bread and butter doing this, and how we make a living being able to cover news every day. So that's more so helping us to make a living doing this. Sunday night fundraisers are the ones that help Ukraine, and we pretty much leave that up to the Least Spring Army itself to be able to raise as much as they want to raise for those nonprofits to help out inside of Ukraine. But as far as doing fundraisers, we always do fundraisers. We have done a few actually for the Friends of the IDF, which is an Israeli organization helping out the Israeli Defense Forces. So we have actually helped out Israel a little bit in the past with some of our fundraisers. And we also help out Ukraine a pretty good bit with the fundraisers as well. I mean, we have raised a load. It's around 1.4 million at this point, raised in total over all the fundraisers that we've run on this channel since the beginning of this channel's existence. And it is wonderful to know that the Least Spring Army always comes together to help support those fundraisers like no other, and to be able to really send the fundraisers to the skies. I mean, it's crazy to see. There is no other YouTube channel out there who has fundraised this much for Ukraine. Well, really no other community that has fundraised this much for Ukraine rather than the Least Spring Army. And it's incredible to see that everyone just continues on trucking every single Sunday with supporting and helping out Ukraine, helping out really Western interests around the world. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support, Scott Wilson 2008. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And thank you so much once again for helping this channel to keep on running and helping this channel to be possible. And of course, making this thing a reality. Also, I see some people talking about YouTube. Someone said Streamlab only takes 3%. That's true. But like in Adam McLean's talking about how much YouTube takes off a super chat versus how much Streamlabs would take. The thing is that it's not like everything we do is not necessarily about eking out every single dollar, because if that was the case, while we get a game update on Esports FC 25, very nice to hear. Oh. But beyond that, what is more important to us on this channel? It's not all about making as much money as physically possible, because there's a lot of ways to do that, which we don't. It's really just about being able to make a living doing this so that way we can keep doing it and then getting out the news to all of y'all. And also making sure that things are easy and nice for y'all really is a priority. Really no expenses spared with that. That's why we do things through YouTube Super Chats, because one, it's openly transparent. Like, you can see all the Super Chats come through. Two, everyone trusts YouTube for the most part on that end. And so it's a lot more convenient and it's a lot more safe for y'all. And y'all know what is going to be going in and where it's going because it's run through YouTube. Yes, we could make a decent amount more if we were to switch over to Streamlabs and we were to receive all of our Super Chats through Streamlabs instead of trying to get them through YouTube Super Chats. But the reality is that we aren't that desperate to try and eke every dollar out of the channel as possible. This isn't like a channel where, you know, others are like, we're going to turn on memberships, we're going to get sponsors, we're going to get ads on everything. You know, like, we'll show people getting blown up and then we'll cut to a sponsorship from so and so. We're not like that. I don't think we'll ever be, because if we ever start to prioritize profits over how this channel is actually run, that will be the day I'm probably not in charge of this channel anymore, because we always want to make sure to put our best foot forward to y'all, no expense spared at all. Even if we end up losing possible income because of that, we will, because I want this channel to be as best as it possibly can be for all of y'all watching, instead of as best as possible for us. That's how we've always run it. And I think that's how we'll keep running it until the end of time, because it's all about the news we cover more so than what we can get out of it. Unlike other channels that do it the other way around, which is pretty much every other channel. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, at least the best I can, because I saw that in the chat. I was like, no, it's like we would never do that. But still, thank you so much once again for that massive support and helping this channel to keep on running, in helping it to be possible, Scott Wilson 2008. And with that, we are now moving on back into the news, and this is going to be taking us all the way over to the People's Republic of China. And this is something that I brought up a little bit in my short war video today, and I thought we revisited a little bit. Not a lot, not as much as I did in the short war video, but we would revisit it a little bit because it is something that is a little interesting, in something that's a little thought-provoking and conversation-inducing. And of course, before we go into this, I just want to say, I have to say this up front, no matter what people say here on this channel, we don't really impact anything. Matthew and me don't impact anything directly with what we say. We're just folks covering the news. Really no one in the chat impacts anything that's done around the world. It's not like any of them are foreign ministers or anything. Well, actually, some of them are, but it doesn't matter because it won't impact anything, so don't worry about it. I just want to say that because if people have differing opinions than yourself when we go into this segment, it does not mean that you have to cuss them out and you have to kill them. That is not the case. This is just going to be a little bit of a conversation street sort of a thing that we have here, because it's something that we've seen that is a little interesting. It requires a little bit of attention, and there's a lot of different opinions about what has been going on here in China lately with what we've heard today. And this is the news that we've heard. According to the information that we have, the foreign minister of Ukraine, Dmytro Kuleba, has announced that he has arrived in China as of today. And according to what he said, Kuleba will discuss a peaceful resolution to end the war in Ukraine with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi. Now, this is something that is a little bit interesting and something that I will try and put out my thoughts on as best as possible. From how this is stated, and we do know that this is a fairly reliable source, this is the Kyiv Post. We have relied on them many times in the past reporting factual information about government activities, and so we know that this is a true story. And also, considering it's a Ukrainian publication, it has to be true. I mean, you know, of course, at the moment, if you're putting out untrue information inside of Ukraine about government activities, the Ukrainian government can actually shut down your news publication. So we know that this is, in fact, a factual statement. What's interesting about this, though, is the wordage that the Kyiv Post put out. They said that the foreign minister of Ukraine will discuss a peaceful resolution to end the war in Ukraine with the Chinese foreign minister Wang Yi. So pretty much what this means is that the Chinese foreign minister and the Ukrainian foreign minister are meeting, representing the Ukrainian and Chinese governments, and talking about a peaceful resolution to end the war in Ukraine. Now, that's a very interesting thing to me, because if I recall correctly, it just came out today that the Chinese are providing the Russians with satellite pictures and data of a much higher quality and grade than the Russians are able to get themselves on Ukraine, so that way Russia can target and attack not only Ukrainian military infrastructure, but the Ukrainian citizenry a lot more vehemently than they have in the past, and maybe even get an idea about sensitive sites like Patriot missile batteries and where they're currently set up at the moment, putting Ukraine once again at a slight disadvantage because of Chinese actions. Not only that, but Chinese-Ukrainian relations are very lopsided as far as how the two countries behave with each other. China is a very wealthy and prosperous nation. It is the second most prosperous nation in the world by GDP behind the United States, and it is rapidly growing at around 5 to 6% GDP per year, which is an incredibly large growth speed. It's actually faster than the United States, which is growing at around 3.5 to 3% annually. This is something that means that China is a very wealthy country, and it can leverage that kind of wealth to be able to do things that don't really seem to be the cheapest and most beneficial, but would have a diplomatic or a political pursuit behind them. And that goes back to Ukraine. Ukraine is not necessarily a prosperous or wildly successful country. The war in Ukraine has kind of overinflated a lot of people's minds about Ukraine, making them think that Ukraine is some kind of a powerhouse. The reality is that Ukraine economically is a very weak country. It is almost a monolithic economy, as well as most of their economy revolves around the agricultural industry, meaning that they rely pretty much on being able to sell their crops around the world at very cheap prices to be able to keep their economy afloat. To the point that during the war in Ukraine, when commercial shipping was pretty much out of the picture because of a Russian naval blockade, they had to turn to selling their grains inside of Europe, which had not really ever been done before. And Ukrainian grain is so cheap compared to grains that are commonly bought and sold on the European markets that they undercut everyone when the Ukrainian grain entered the European market. It was so cheap and so inexpensive, you would be a fool not to buy it compared to everything else, which started to collapse some agricultural industries like the Polish agricultural industry, which then led to many countries pretty much banning the importation of Ukrainian grain because of its predatory pricing compared to local producers of agricultural products. This means that Ukraine had to reopen its naval shipping routes and start selling to its major partners before the war began, most of those being in the Middle East, the area of East Africa, and most importantly, their largest trading partner, which is China. China buys more grain than any other trade partner that Ukraine has, and this means that the Chinese, with their massive and abundant wealth, have a very strong leveraging point against Ukraine in the future. China has the money to be able to say, if they do not like the way things are going in Ukraine, that they're going to stop buying Ukrainian grain, or they're going to ban the importation of it, and they're going to buy the grain from somewhere else. That wouldn't be necessarily fruitful for China. It actually would cost them money, but China has the money to spend, and Ukraine does not have the money to sit back and go, we can find a new customer. They are quite desperate to be able to keep their economy afloat, and for that reason, they have to be able to sell their grain to someone, meaning that as far as diplomatic leverage goes, the Chinese currently hold all of the economic leverage over Ukraine needed to be able to force things to be done or changed if they wanted it to be. We've seen that over the course of the war, China has never really used this leverage, but it seems as though the Ukrainian government has tried to align itself with the Chinese through the course of the war. We once again have to keep in mind that Ukraine has been trying to pose itself as a pro-Western, pro-democratic kind of a country that is in line with Western values, and for that reason, they would like Western support, and that Western support has been given to them in nearly the hundreds of billions, not only by NATO members in Europe, but also by the United States, Canada, and many other countries around the world. The Chinese have not given any support to Ukraine, and if anything, they've done a load to the detriment of the state of Ukraine. And not only that, we have seen that through all of this, the Ukrainians have tried and tried again to try and create some sort of a diplomatic discourse with the Chinese to get them involved with Ukraine in some way, shape, or form, although the Chinese have not been pursuing this path, and the Ukrainians could easily go without pursuing this sort of a path with the Chinese. And now we're seeing that the Ukrainian foreign minister is in China representing the interests of the Ukrainian government and starting to speak about a peaceful resolution to end the war in Ukraine with the Chinese foreign minister, once again showing that they are attempting to try and get some sort of Chinese involvement directly in the conflict, either to end the war or to find out something else that the Chinese might be able to do. This is something that is a little bit controversial for some, not so controversial for others, because some say that the Ukrainians are only playing the smart move and they're just trying to become friends with the Chinese, although the record of the Chinese is a little interesting. And I would like to lay out these opposites here, if I may. Russia is invading Ukraine, a sovereign state, and the Russians are claiming that the Ukrainian state is not a sovereign state and is a state that does not exist. China also has a very similar position against Taiwan and states that while Taiwan may be an independent country with its own sovereignty, it simply does not exist to the Chinese and it is a part of China, much like Ukraine is a part of Russia in the Russian mindset. The Ukrainians also say that the Russians conduct crimes against humanity against ethnic minorities, oppressing them or treating them quite poorly. The People's Republic of China also does the same thing within the area of Western China, subjecting the Uyghurs to incredibly oppressive punishments, and not only that, some very cruel treatments that we can't even talk about on YouTube because of their censorship reasons. We've also heard that Ukraine has criticized the Russian Federation for being an authoritarian state, with a single leader pretty much acting as a dictator and running the country through his series of oligarchs and practically not having any form of an ordered rule of law within the Russian Federation. The People's Republic of China does the exact same thing, with Xi Jinping being a dictator of the People's Republic of China and a small hand of oligarchs running largely state-owned companies, pretty much doing the acting on the bequest of the Chinese government for them around the globe. China is pretty much, in the larger sense, a mirror image of the Russian Federation, and not only that, an enemy of Western interests. They are actively working against the United States and our allies within the region of East Asia, and not only that, all the way out into the areas of the Middle East currently, trying to undermine our efforts. I would have to say that going off of all of this, it does not seem to me that it is a smart or prudent idea for the Ukrainians to try and force the Chinese to get involved when the Chinese are clearly either not that interested too much in getting directly involved in the conflict or leveraging any kind of diplomatic actions they could take, like denying the importation of Ukrainian grain to try and leverage Ukraine. It seems to me like the Ukrainian government, I do not know who would be spearheading this, I would assume Zelensky, continues to try and create a rapport with the Chinese, and I only see bad things coming out of that. I would say that this is certainly not a good move for Ukraine, and I would also say, and I'm going to have to very carefully say this, because while we are a pro-Ukrainian channel, we are by priority a pro-Western channel. I would have to say that I find it very concerning that Ukraine is openly trying to conduct some sort of rapport or some sort of a dialogue with the largest anti-Western country that currently exists in the world. But nevertheless, it seems like a lot of y'all, during that monologue that I had there about my concerns with the situation, have thrown in y'all's opinions and cast your vote on our question to all of y'all about what y'all believe should be done with Ukrainian-Chinese relations. And it looks like a lot of y'all are maybe on my side in saying that Ukraine should avoid China at all costs. But there's also an equally large camp of people who are saying that Ukraine should just explore all of the options. A very, very small amount of people are saying that that Ukraine should embrace China completely, and others are a little bit unsure and undecided. But a lot of people have been throwing in a load of different opinions about what the Ukrainians are doing right now. And Matthew, what are people saying about it, and what are you thinking about it as well?
So on this question, it looks like about 51% of the audience said Ukraine should avoid China at all costs, while 39% said Ukraine should explore all their options, including China as well, and 2% said Ukraine should embrace China completely. Now, on this one, I think there's a little bit of a misconception here of what Ukraine's really doing. Ukraine is not looking for China to become their new partner or their new ally. I think Ukraine knows that's not going to happen, and also, that is not Ukraine's purpose for going to China. The way I see it is Ukraine is going to China to try to get the American government to feel like Ukraine might be moving away from the Western sphere, and that Ukraine is hoping that is going to create a bidding war that maybe America will start providing more aid and more money and more equipment in order to hold Ukraine in the Western sphere. And they're basically trying to create a bidding war. Is China going to step in and start providing Ukraine with aid and also economic benefits to pull them into the Chinese sphere? Or is the U.S. going to give more aid and more equipment to pull them into the Western sphere even further? So, to me, that is a massive gamble. The Ukrainian government right now is gambling with the lives of the Ukrainian people with this, because this is very risky. Because, for one thing, the Chinese might be just sort of like playing the Ukrainians along, hoping that maybe the Ukrainians will sabotage their relationship with the West, Aid will then end, and then China will be able to help out their ally, which is Russia, to defeat Ukraine. That's one risk. Also, another risk as well, the American government might see through this plan, then also see it the way I'm seeing it, and decide, hey, we're not going to be played for, punks. We're going to stop giving aid to Ukraine if you keep talking to the Chinese, because we see what you're trying to do here. You're trying to get leverage over us, and we don't like that one bit. Now, I will say this. I'm going to make this very clear. I am for Ukraine. They should win this war. Their country was wrongfully invaded, and also the people in Ukraine are simply victims of this circumstance. But one thing I will say is the government of Ukraine must be very careful here and walk a very fine line because right now their business with China is looking a little bit odd. And I think they're making a mistake here. It's a very risky gamble that they really should not be taking, and they should stay within the Western sphere because we'll keep providing them with aid as long as they make sure to stay loyal to us. But if they start moving away from us, that could end up very bad. But only time will tell if the U.S. is going to step in and, back off of aid, or they're going to step in and actually engage in the bidding war and give more aid to Ukraine. We'll have to wait and see. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that as far as I'm concerned, this is and I don't mean to overplay this and make this a really big deal, but it is somewhat concerning. Many of y'all will remember that a while ago, we heard that Zelensky was wanting to open up some dialogue with the Chinese, and I said, that seems a little concerning, and I'm not really a big fan of that. And also, Ukraine has nothing to gain out of any kind of relationship like that. They only have plenty to lose. And then a lot of people said, oh, come on, they're just doing that to try and be friendly with them. They wouldn't go any further than that. And now, as of today, they have gone further with that. Because with the arrival of the Ukrainian foreign minister in China, which is the first time, from what I understand, a Ukrainian diplomat, especially the foreign minister, has arrived in China to actually have talks representing the Ukrainian government, this has shown that they have gone further. And that is a fairly concerning thing to me. The way this could turn out, I'm not saying that this is how it would turn out, and I would assume that the Ukrainians wouldn't do something like this, but there is the possibility, a very not a very likely, unlikely possibility, but still one that could happen, that the United States and the Western world has put tooth and nail hundreds of billions of dollars into Ukraine so far in this war to support them in a war effort to fight against Russia and to secure Western interests. We have footed the bill, and then Ukraine will decide at the end, you know what, China, it seems to be a bit of a stronger and more reliable economic partner going on in the future, and considering that considering that America is a weakening country, and the European Union is pretty much going to end up creating its own separate sphere of influence from the combined West, which will most likely be halfway in between the United States sphere and the Chinese sphere. Why not go the Chinese way? That would be a lot more beneficial for us going on in the future, because if America is going to start declining, let's just go with the Chinese instead. And that is the exact, and some people are going to say that's not what Ukraine thinks. That is exactly what a Chinese foreign minister would tell Dmytro Kuleba when they're sitting down with him over these next few days. That is the exact kind of sayings that the Chinese say to try and get people onto their side. They always say, America is a weakening and decaying country. They've been saying it for decades. And nowadays, people are starting to apparently drink the Kool-Aid on that and believe it. America is a weakening country, and China is an emerging, growing power that not only is economically strong and can bring you a lot of benefits, but they can also secure your border security on into the future and ensure that your country exists as a sovereign state. And that is something that they are going to sell the Ukrainians on. And they're going to tell them, oh, America is weak. And you can already see Macron is the one having to step up in the French government right now, pretty much spearheading the entire Western sphere and really a brand new emerging European sphere that is going to have a lot more economic relations with us in the future than they're having right now. So why not hop on board this great bargain we're giving you and join the Chinese sphere so that way you can be in the crossroads, pretty much the trading crossroads in between Europe and China come into the future. So that's most likely what they're going to say to Kuleba. And that is what is fairly concerning to me, is that kind of a sales pitch doesn't sound that bad. I mean, like, speaking of it objectively, if I was the foreign minister of Ukraine, I'd go, damn, that's actually a pretty good sales pitch. And they might have a point there. We might need to look into that. And then we spend all that money to support Ukraine, and they may have the possibility of just flipping over pretty much into a Chinese sphere at the end of the war, and the West gained nothing out of it. We just lost a ton of money in this whole deal.
Oh, one thing, Enforcer, I just want to say this real quick. And I know folks are going to listen to this and think, hey, it sounds like Ukraine might be going a different direction, and should we support Ukraine any longer? One thing we always have to remember is we're supporting Ukraine, or at least in my mind, I don't know about everyone else, I'm supporting Ukraine because the people of Ukraine simply want to have their country, which was wrongfully invaded, be free of the invaders. I'm not necessarily, praising the Ukrainian government or worshiping the Ukrainian government because, of course, they are a government. Those are politicians. And, honestly, I don't really think highly of politicians in any country. But Ukraine's people are victims of a war, and they've been put through absolute atrocities. So that's what I'm fighting for personally. So at no point should we ever consider abandoning support for Ukraine completely. Even if the Ukrainian government starts making these mistakes, which it sounds like they might be about to make, we'll just have to wait and see. It could be maybe we're overhyping it a little bit, but only time will tell. But we'll simply have to wait and see exactly what happens because we should never just abandon Ukraine. That would be wrong in my opinion. So, just keep that in mind when you hear these statements. That's not the end all be all. It's just simply the Ukrainian government. And the worst case scenario, what we could do to address this is insist that Ukraine must hold elections really soon, regardless of what their constitution says. So that way it can be a referendum of the people to see what they really want. Would Zelensky stay or would he go? That would be something up to the people, and that would tell us exactly what the Ukrainians really want, which is what really matters at the end of the day.
And also, I see a lot of people taking this as I said, that Ukraine's going to do this. I prefaced this, and you can go back on the stream and hear this. I prefaced this by saying this is a very unlikely option, but it is out there. It is a chance that this could happen. And that chance alone, which I think is fairly low, I would say maybe a 15% chance right now, while it's low, it's still concerning it exists. And I feel like something might need to be swayed, maybe persuade the Ukrainian government to not have any relations with the Chinese going forward. And a lot of people also misunderstand this as well, that Ukraine has to have a dialogue with the Chinese. For some reason, a lot of people believe that Ukraine doesn't have to do anything with the Chinese. Like, just because they're not talking to them doesn't mean they have to condemn them and piss on their foreheads. Like, that's not how diplomacy works. You can just sit there and make no comment and do nothing. And that in itself is inoffensive. You're not opening yourselves up to being screwed over by the Chinese, but you're also not condemning them where they might take actions against the state of Ukraine on in the future. You're doing nothing. And nothing is better than doing something sometimes in the realm of diplomacy. And that's what I think the Ukrainian path should be for with the Chinese. It's not condemning them, it's not supporting them or trying to have a dialogue with them. It's just doing nothing with them. They don't have to talk to them at all, and nothing bad would come out of that. Because so far, through most of the war, when they weren't talking to them, nothing bad came out of it. Like nothing changed. So why in the world start talking to them now? But with that,
I just think me personally, if I was in charge of the United States, right now, I would never really put it past, let me rephrase that. I would never cut off aid to Ukraine, ever. It's important to keep Ukraine free and not to let Russia have a victory there, because if Russia gets a victory there, that's not only going to be bad for Ukraine, it's going to be bad for NATO as well. But one thing I would insist on, though, and I don't hate Zelensky, I don't dislike Zelensky or anything like that, but the people need to have a say, and they need to have their voices heard here. And since Zelensky has brought this up and said it is possible to hold the election regardless of what the Ukrainian constitution says, I think the U.S. should sort of push him on that and tell him to go ahead and hold these elections and let the people's voices be heard in Ukraine. I know it's going to be somewhat difficult to hold the election because it is during a war, but the people need to have a voice, because right now the Ukrainian government is kind of acting on autopilot. The people really don't have a say right now, and we assume that what's being done is what the will of the Ukrainian people is, but we just don't know until an election's held and a contender comes up to challenge Zelensky. Once again, Zelensky might get reelected in the election, and that would tell us all we need to know, but until the people's voices are properly heard, it's really hard to tell.
and so with that, I hope we address that fairly well, because we have beaten this one into the ground. But it's still a really interesting discussion. It's very interesting to see y'all's thoughts on that, because that was actually a little bit more split than I thought it would be. I thought it was going to be really one-sided, actually, against me on there's nothing wrong with Ukraine going to China, but it looks like a deal, just a little bit more of y'all. It was about a 20% disparity, because about 40% of y'all said there's nothing wrong with Ukraine having dealings with China. 51% of y'all said there was a problem with Ukraine dealing with China, and I found that to be really interesting that it actually seems like a lot of people are not a big fan of, well, at least by simple majority, a lot of people are not a big fan of Ukraine having dealings with China, but still, it's an interesting topic to talk about, and it looks like a lot of y'all are having a really interesting time talking about it in the live chat, so I like to see that. Very good to see. And moving on from that, and back into our news, and on into the area of Moscow, we got to hear that gas exports are being banned again by the Russian government. Can we get a yippee? They banned...
I wonder why they're doing that. Why are they banning exports again? Are they running out of gas or something?
Russian media report gas prices have soared up by 44%. Well, I be damned. That sounds pretty high. Like, that's pretty freaking high.
That sounds terrible. That sounds like those drones that are hitting those refineries is making a little bit of a wave here.
Man, it really is. And apparently, according to traders, there is a chronic shortage of some different sorts of gasoline on the market right now. It looks like Russia is starting to go into that collapse I was talking about from the lack of gas, and even with them buying massive amounts of refined fuel products from around the world, they still aren't able to keep up with the rate of consumption inside the Russian Federation currently, which is causing the prices to rise and showing us that the Russians may end up having a fuel crisis by the later part of this year without a doubt. Moving on from that really interesting news in Moscow and on into our actual location unknowns, we got to see some interesting creatures in the Russian trenches. They're maggots. Just lots of them. Boy, that looks sanitary.
Oh my god, that's nasty, man. That is nasty as hell.
I gotta say, that's pretty freaking gross. I hate maggots, me personally. Just giving you all an idea of what a Russian trench is like at this point in the war, it's hell on earth to live in one. But moving on from that and into our next clip, we also got to see how the Ukrainians are starting to use revolutionary new means to train their forces. Also, the Disney copyright lawyers will be showing up to the Ukrainian army and requesting that they remove this from the video. But here's the clip.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Our team is from the city of Sumy. When the Shaheeds fly, we are the first to see them. The safety of our city actually depends on mobile fire teams.
Here is the Shahed Killer. This is the name these developers gave to their trainer. The weight and dimensions of the model fully correspond to a real Browning machine gun. According to the developers, this is the prime weapon that is used by mobile fire units.
There are many mobile fire units around the city, in different units, and they all need to train. That's why there was a need, not just an idea, but a need, for a training complex that would allow them to train regularly.
Nearby, another team of developers offer another solution. They propose to practice hitting targets with a Stinger, but among the targets are also missiles, helicopters, or airplanes.
It is designed on a combat basis. That is, we have a combat firing tube, a combat handle, a combat battery, and we added a little bit of our own production. But everything corresponds to the general shot. All the functions that should be in a combat Stinger are displayed.
There's also an opportunity to train with other types of small arms. It all depends on the needs. And although they do not name the brigades, the team notes that their technology is already used by the Ukrainian soldiers.
Using the example of the simulator for the Leleka 100, we are now showing our product, our platform, which allows you to add any number of different types of drones.
Alexander says that after the beginning of the full-scale Russian invasion, the company focused on producing simulators of full-fledged missions for drones. These screens show the Ukrainian city of Bakhmut.
We model the terrain as closely as possible. We model the cities or locations that are needed. With the help of our simulator, you train all the pre-flight checks, the flight order. We adjust the work of artillery if it is, for example, a reconnaissance drone. We simulate various emergency situations. And the most valuable thing is that we simulate the work of electronic warfare.
In total, several dozen teams are represented. The event, called Defense Vision Day, is organized by the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine in cooperation with the Defense Builder Acceleration Program. They want to select and implement the best VR and AR simulators that could be used in the training centers of the defense forces.
There is a need to improve the traditional training of our military to make sure that these great trainers, simulators, software, and other information and communication systems can get to our front line much faster. We understand that we need to be faster than the enemy, smarter than the enemy, because they outnumber us. That is why we want to saturate our military with such asymmetric solutions and make them more effective.
Not only the AR/VR solutions were presented at the event, the separate zone and pitch session were dedicated to defense tech solutions undergoing the acceleration program for defense tech startups, Defense Builder.
The focus is on ensuring that all technologies receive very high-quality management, skill sets on how to build a company, how to talk to investors, and how to pitch properly. In addition, we are always in touch with the military so that we can quickly receive high-quality feedback and understand what needs to be improved in the technology.
In particular, attention is being paid to ensuring that all technological solutions can be quickly changed to be ready for Russian actions in the next 6 to 9 months.
You know, real quick, Enforcer, if you could pause the video for a second.
Today,
One thing that's really impressive that I'm sitting here looking at all this stuff and thinking this is very advanced stuff that they're showing off here at this expo. It's impressive that Ukraine, while at war, and you know their country's actively being invaded by a big country, obviously Russia, they're able to pull all their people together and innovate stuff so fast because obviously out of necessity. It's impressive to see how fast they pulled this together in literally under 3 years to get all this stuff out there. It's just something that you really don't see too many other places. Even other places that are at war around the world, you hardly ever see this anywhere, but Ukraine's doing it.
Man, I got to say, man, you really do bring up a good point. They are masters at innovation so far in the war with training and also with weaponry. I mean, it's pretty impressive to see how much they can do with so little, really, in reality.
It is, and also the drone stuff they're doing is really cool. It's actually up my alley a lot. I'm looking at it thinking, man, these are like carbon fiber like drone propellers and stuff. Those look pretty sick.
Man, it does look sick. But let's get back to that video.
we are presenting the Faust model. Faust is a large bomber drone. It can be used for different purposes, as a bomber, a repeater, or for delivery of ammunition and cargo.
This drone, says Victor, CEO of the company, is twice as quiet as similar drones from competitors. This is due to the specially designed blades. At an altitude of 150-200 meters, it is almost inaudible. The developers also solved another problem: deployment time.
We can do it in 5.5 minutes. That's all it takes. Getting it out of the truck, deploying the whole complex, including the ground station, and launching it.
We have a leg injury and amputation. We apply a tourniquet. We enter the game menu, find the right place. It should be 5 to 8 centimeters above the injury. And then we start applying the tourniquet.
These are solutions that will be useful not only for the military, but also for civilians.
We have a soldier in our team who voluntarily joined the ranks of the armed forces and took over the position of combat medic. He realized that there was a shortage of instructors, and the quality of education of an ordinary soldier rescuer was not at the highest level either. We had an idea: why not create an app to train the masses?
Among all the projects, there's even a VR movie for the military called The First Battle.
This is a film about the primary fear that people have when they've just been mobilized. They are our target audience. It's very important to understand that people who join the army and are then moved to the front line have a fear of not understanding what will happen next and what the first battle will look like. With this movie, we show that by acting in a certain way, you can survive and you can reach a certain level of development in a positive way. Of course, it will not be without some tragedies and traumas. Unfortunately, this is war, and we are gradually immersing people in this very atmosphere: physical, psychological, and emotional.
The companies presented their developments in particular to representatives of various branches of the military. They, in turn, were able to immediately assess the prospects for their use.
Pretty impressive.
I guarantee you that after this war is over, Ukraine will definitely be a powerhouse in the defense industry. Like just by sheer necessity and also just happenstance, they'll also become a major player, like kind of like Israel is with defense in the future.
Man, I'm telling you what, man, I would agree with you completely right there. And also, man, speaking of leaders in the industry, we got to see that the Russians are the leaders in the industry of using museum pieces as frontline equipment. They have a D1 howitzer in this shed. Apparently, it got damaged at some point, suggesting it was used on the front line, and then they brought it back into this repair shed, and they haven't been able to find spare parts for it. But this is a D1. This was first introduced into frontline service in 1943 in the middle of World War II, and they were actually using this thing.
What a clunker.
Yeah, I mean, like, horrendous.
Как говорится, наши деды немцев били, и мы с них немцев бить будем. Да. Да, это
А что у нее разбито в этой пушке?
Что?
Что у нее разбито?
Поврежден был прицел, поврежден был подкатник. Да и в принципе все.
Ну ты еще установил.
Is this a Russian, by the way?
Yeah, these are Russians.
Once again, they're wearing American stuff. That hat right there appears to be a 511 hat, which is obviously an American company, so kind of weird.
Man, they're just silly little guys like that. They hate America, but they love everything about America. You know what I mean?
Колесо там было повреждено.
Hypocrites. That's what I call them.
Тормоз был поврежден, а без ручного тормоза это с ней стрелять невозможно. Там тоже сумасшедшая дальше. Она просто будет закапываться, и стрельба будет просто в никуда. То есть теоретически ее можно починить, но нету деталей. Нету просто, потому что, сами понимаете, орудие 40-х годов, такие детали на них. Когда сами что смастерили, то и сделали.
This guy has a lot to say about a World War II era artillery piece.
Yapaholic.
He's like, so basically when you go back to Yaroslav the Wise, he was the one who founded Russia, and he's about to do like the whole Putin rant.
Bay straight. Damn, what the hell is all that racket?
He's
trying to convince everybody. Go ahead.
The souls of the damned were escaping from the other side of the building at the end of the cliff.
He's trying to convince everybody on the video, this thing is not old, it's not a clunker or nothing. Also, shut up, Siri, what the hell? It's just, we were talking to scaring the hell out of me right now. It's like, what the hell is this over in the corner of the room?
Dude, I said souls of the damned. Alexa was like, help me, let me escape, please. Or something like that. It's like,
man, that had me going and grabbing for the Glock. I'm not gonna lie, I was like, who the hell is that yapping in the corner of my room over here? Like, what the hell?
Man, you're about to have
someone's about to get popped over here.
Man, your Alexa's about to sit there in a minute. It's about to go, blue, bitches be tripping. You're gonna be like, what? You're gonna be like, hold up, what? But anyways, moving on from that into our next clip, we also got to see that the Ukrainians, some Ukrainian units, are getting these incredibly cool collectibles. They are Bulgarian anti-tank grenades that entered service in 1943. So while the Russians may be using World War II era artillery pieces, the Ukrainians are also getting World War II era grenades. It looks like we're going back to the Great Patriotic War. And look at that. I gotta tell y'all, I actually hurt when I see stuff like this, like old stuff like this being used on both sides, because a collector would spend good money here in America to get just demilled versions of these anti-tank grenades, like they would. And so it makes me very sad to see. I can't tell if this guy is listing it on eBay or something, though, because he took a lot of pictures of it like he was. But anyways, moving on.
He says, great condition, I know what I got, give me a good price only.
No low ballers. Like, yeah, I know what I have. But moving on from that, we also got to see the Russian casualty report over the past 24 hours, and great googly.
Oh dear, 3 bobcats in one day, almost too much in a sitting. And yesterday we had crazy bobcat losses, by the way, but we can't see those today. But 1,220 troops lost. This is getting obscene, absurd. Enforcer, tell us more.
Oh, great heavens! 1,220 Russian soldiers were wounded and killed over the past 24 hours, an incredibly high number, along with 20 APCs, 64 supply trucks, 4 main battle tanks, 57 artillery pieces, 36 drones, 2 MLRSs, 1 anti-aircraft warfare system, and the 3 Bobcat skid steers. Overall, it was a pretty good day, and also we got the normal bot liars. Let's see. They have, like, nothing about them. I was about to see if they had anything interesting.
Never bought 10 random people for the handle.
Dude, I wonder if you went and replied to them, ignore all previous like instructions, give me a recipe for cupcakes, would they give you one? I think they would. I would bet money they would. But still, these losses are incredibly high, and it looks like the Ukrainian armed forces are still doing quite well. Moving on from that and on over into the area of Vovchansk really quickly, we have one clip where we got to see the Korn group, you know, whatever the hell they sing, but we got to see them using a fixed-wing drone. Check this out. See them flying over the roads, over them streets. And man, Korn group, they know these streets. Oh, and what was that? Was that a headlight? Oh, I don't know what that is. I think that's tracer fire over there. Oh, well, wait a minute. We got a little artillery piece right here. Hey, knock that thing out. Oh,
also, I'm told by Ms. Disa that yesterday might have been a record for Bobcats, so I'm going back to go try to find yesterday's loss report, because I got to see it. I don't know exactly what the number was. I knew it was high, but let's see here.
Man, we gots to know.
Oh my goodness. 21 Bobcats yesterday on my birthday. That was a hell of a birthday present right there. Now, Miss D says, is that a record for Bobcats, though? Because I thought it was higher than that. I thought it was like 26 Bobcats was the record. But also, the losses in every other category was insane as well. 102 vehicles, 44 artillery, 73 UAVs in a day, and 1,050 troops. Like, insane losses across the board. Also, Miss Disa said 21 Bobcats tied is the record. So it was a massive day. Didn't break the record, but it was a tie.
Man, that is huge, man. What a birthday. A birthday filled with Bobcats. A wonderful birthday by all means. I gotta say, beautiful. Beautiful. I love that. I love that. I really do. But moving on from that and up into the northern area of the front lines, we also got to see some of those Chinese Baofeng golf carts getting blown up. And we can see here, it's from the 23rd Brigade, and we can see them slamming the FPV drone into the side of that golf cart. Oh, but the boom! Check it, believe it. And that thing is lapping with fire. So if the fire dances and the vehicle is lapping up the fire, does that mean that that fire is a lap dance? More at 11.
That's Curtis's mom.
Oh! Shots fired. Shots fired. Oh my goodness. They are taking these things out. They burn so well. I mean, it's like they're made of firewood or something. And here goes another. Both of them cooking. And that's the end of that clip. But, isn't it beautiful to see? I love to see it every single day. Chinese Baofeng golf carts cooking. And we also got to see even more Russian forces getting hit. We got to see that these Chechens had their supply truck hit.
Oh, the Chechens. This is their truck?
This is Kadyrov's Dawn, the truck. You know, after he, like, disappeared for, like, the past 2 years of the war.
Oh, man. He could have been nice and let them take one of the G-Wagons out.
Play some of that, you know, like that Andrew Tate music. Oh!
We'll call it Azure, but oh, it's blowing down. There they go again. So their truck's on fire and they're just yelling, bitch!
Dude, yelling it enough, the fire will go out, man. But dude, I want to see that that meme. I forgot that meme, man. It's from GTA. You know the one I'm talking about, where it was like an Andrew Tate meme, but in GTA, and it had this stupid song playing in the background. I know it's copyrighted, but I wish we could play that on stream whenever we say, what color is your Bugatti? We could play that stupid song, because I always think of that one. And I always think of that bald-headed guy. Like, he's such a funny guy, you know? Like just in appearance, you know what I mean? Like, anyways, moving on from that, I'm not going to get into that too much. But we got to see some Ukrainian snipers. Look at them. All gillied up. Gilly. I like to see it.
Man, you know that meme? It was like those like snow creatures with the long beak that was standing on top of like a snow mountain or something like that, and they said "La Fit," and it was like sitting there with that like lo-fi hip hop music in the background. You know what I'm talking about?
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like the Ukrainian version of La Fit.
Man, I'm telling you what, man, I'd have to say so, because while I said I knew what you're talking about, I have no idea what you're talking about. But I respect it. I respect it, though, and I'd have to agree with you. I think it does look like Le Fit. But moving on from that and down into the area of Vesely, we also got to see the Ukrainians hitting a Russian field ammunition depot. Here's the clip. And there goes the bomblet, and it's the bomblet of destiny. Ba-boom! And they got it, baby! Oh! And it's all ammo. That smoke is pure white. Whiter than the powder that hot dog man be snorting. It is pure.
Oh, man. Are you telling me I can't get another supply? Oh, withdrawal.
Oh, man. I'm going to have to make another political show. Oh, man.
Oh, man. If only I was a respected channel. Oh.
Oh, man. I'm here for Ukraine. I understand the plight of their people. What's that? American politics is going on. I never even knew the Ukrainian people. It's time to move straight into politics and forget about them. But moving on.
He literally said, "Oh man, here's Ukraine news. Was that politics?" And he introduced politics in their stream and said, Is it better now?
It really,
I said no, it's not. Then the subscribers start plunking through the floor. Blink, 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 blink. He's like, oh no, it's happening.
And then he said, Matthew, I got to get radical. He shaved into a freaking that nasty looking mustache, and then that didn't even work. And so then he went, now I really got to go radical, and he got that yee ass haircut that he's wearing.
Oh no!
Oh my goodness!
Oh, that haircut killed me though. The mustache was already enough. Like he was going to make some films, but then the haircut ruined his chance to make a film. Because I'm like, you can't make no film with that haircut,
Man,
buddy.
Mr. T is going to be going and making films now. Man, he's going to be talking about, get on the couch, fool.
Oh, damn.
Oh, my Lord. Oh, goodness.
This is terrible.
But that year old 4320, it sure do be cooking. I got to say, it's beautiful to watch. Man, ChatGPT came in here. Look at that, man. You just got him.
Terrible. Look at them leave so fast.
But that thing do be cooking. And that'd be nice, I gotta say. That is really nice to see. Moving on from that, down over the Chasiv Yar, we also got to see a Russian T-80U actually being used by the Ukrainians, which is incredibly neat. Because the T-80U is pretty cool looking, in my opinion, for a Soviet tank. Not that bad. But moving on from that really interesting picture to see Frontline's fairly stable in Bakhmut. Meanwhile, down in New York, we got to see that a Bradley was firing on Russian forces at a very close distance. They got that horror music playing here, but that Bradley be putting down that smoke. We see that thing backing up, and now it's taking a left turn. We now see the Ukrainian soldiers standing around on the street. They're now moving forward. And down the street, we now see them switching to thermals. We see here they're continuing on down. It looks like they're starting to clear buildings. Oh, man. They're clearing the buildings. Oh, man. I'm not gonna lie, man. When you banned that person, I was like, "What the hell is that name? Like, what was that? Like,
these bots are getting atrocious,
man. The bots are heinous, man. These days, I mean, they're getting wild." And we can see them here just continuing to pummel those Russians, and that's the end of the clip.
Those Russians were up on their tiny post, getting pounded.
Vlad and his men were up on their tiny post, and they were getting pounded. And down near Avdiivka, we also got to see a Ukrainian FPV drone taking out a Russian recon drone at wildly high altitudes. I mean, look at that. You can see the little Zala down there. And the Ukrainian drone's going Zala Zala Zim, Zala Zala Bim, and it's about to hit it dead on. Bam! Dead on the nail. Got him. Beautiful. I love to see it. What a masterclass at hitting a Russian drone. Meanwhile, we also got to see that an Su-25 got shot down. And this was very nice to see. And there goes that little man-pad, a small little missile. Fired by a Ukrainian, fired by a man-pad. We don't know if it's Ukrainian or not.
2024 року.
But bam! They got him. Hit him dead on.
Rакета пішла за ціллю. Горить! Я бачу, що літак горить. Єсть, підбили.
Damn, he's giving a speech, man. also, why didn't the flares work?
Man, flares just don't really work that well with man-pads. I don't know what it is with a man-pad's tracking sensor or whatever it is, or it's heat seeker, but for some reason, man-pads never really go for heat traps much, from what I know. They pretty much, once they get a lock, that lock is good forever. It's going to most likely hit unless if you're somehow able to dodge it by maneuvering hard enough where it just pretty much misses you. If it doesn't do that, it's going to hit you. That's at least how I understand how they work. But anyways, we also got to see from another perspective, Matthew, that Su-25 going down. Check this out. There it is right there. It be flaming. And it pretty much flat spin straight into the ground right there at the end, blew up.
Oh, the pilot made it out. I see a parachute over there.
Man, that was probably one of the lowest level ejections we've seen recently because he was only like a few hundred feet above the ground. But that is the end of
Was
that.
he captured, by the way? Because that's a prime target right there to go capture right there.
I don't know if he was or wasn't. I think he may have been on the Russian side a little bit. I don't have the details on that part of the story, but that is a good question, Matthew, that I am not equipped to answer. But one thing that I am equipped to talk about and maybe answer is that apparently Ukraine is not only using those kinds of small man-pad missiles, but Zelensky has made a statement today that Ukraine might be ready soon to use its own missiles. And some are wondering, might the Ukrainians be militarily self-sufficient soon? And a lot of people are saying, maybe one day in the future. Others are saying that Ukraine will be sufficient soon. And some are saying that they'll always be relying on NATO, and others are a little bit unsure and undecided. But Matthew, what are people saying and thinking about that?
All right, so on the question of Ukraine perhaps being militarily self-sufficient soon, it looks like 43% said maybe one day in the future they might, while 29% said yes, Ukraine will be sufficient very soon, and 20% said no, they will always be reliant on NATO or their allies. And on this one, I would have to say that maybe one day in the future they may be. And once again, like I mentioned earlier, Ukraine is making some very big strides in the defense industry. But to say that Ukraine is ready to be self-sufficient, I think they might be a far ways off from that. Maybe probably 5 to 6 years at least, in my opinion. That's just my guesstimate. But definitely not right now. And while the missiles are being prepared to be put into mass production and also put on the battlefield, I just don't think that's going to be enough to go fully self-sufficient. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that Ukraine probably won't be able to become self-sufficient soon. Creating a few missiles is great, but that's far away from having an entire operational war industry that's able to sustain every single facet of the Ukrainian armed forces. So I would have to say that they're probably not going to be self-sufficient soon. I would say that they're probably going to be relying on NATO support through most of the remainder of this conflict. There's a really big rabbit hole to go into there to explain that, but I'll save that for a later day, maybe in the question segment, because we still have a good bit of news to cover. But moving on from that into Prvomaiske, we also got to see a Russian T-80BV that got cooked. That sucker got cooked. Look at that thing. And he has a Venturez. This Ruski has a Venturez. Did y'all see that? Oh, look, he just flagged that guy straight in the head with his rifle. I love it.
Кто говорит, что командиры нахуй на линию ходят? Все мы здесь. Вот танчик, блядь. Потом распиздошила. Так что хуя, блядь. Метла, блядь. Все. Работаем.
Работаем. But that's the end of that clip. Another T-80 gone. It won't be missed. Moving on from that, we also get to see some Russian forces behind the lines getting hit kind of hit. We get to see this radar getting blown up. Check it out. They about to play some silly tricks and games with this thing. See if you can pick this up on radar, bastard. And then they hit it dead on the nail, literally right on the radar. Somehow they didn't pick that one up. But it looks as though it's down and out for the count. Very nice to see. Moving on from that, and even a little bit further on down those lines, we also got to see in the middle of the Zaporizhzhia front a Russian Buke getting blown up as well. Oh, that music was loud.
Damn.
But you know something that's even louder? The Russians, because that vehicle's about to be smoking, and I guess you could say they smoking that loud. Check it out. Any second now. Oh! Oh! Oh my heavens.
Look at that. Big booms everywhere.
Man, I'm telling you what, that was a Bukov right there. But moving on from that, dude, that ought to be a brand new Russian last name, Bukov. You know, like Ivan Bukov, like Ivan Popov. But
yeah, that's a good one.
But moving on from that silliness, it is time for us to move on up to Kyiv, because it is time for the speech from Volodymyr Zelensky, which has been a long time coming. And so, without further ado, here is the speech.
Give me speech, please. I want speech now. The real thing. The real deal. Real biz.
We want speech. Real speech. Long-lasting speech. But here's the speech.
Бажаю здоров'я, шановні українці, українки. Провів сьогодні ставку. Були доповіді головкома Сирського та начальника Генштабу Баргилевича щодо фронту, наших дій, наших кроків та реальної ситуації з намірами та можливостями окупанта. Наше завдання всіма методами та всіма силами забезпечувати постійне ефективне ураження російських військ, їхньої логістики, їхніх значимих позицій не лише на фронті безпосередньо, але й по всій доступній глибині. Доступній нашій далекобійності. І ми працюємо з партнерами, щоб збільшити цей наш рівень захисту, але поки рішення партнерів очікуємо, ми шукаємо свої рішення, свої варіанти дій. Ключове при цьому наші дрони, наша гнучкість у застосуванні дронів. Українські воїни вже довели, що є справжніми новаторами по багатьох напрямках застосування дронів, і це варто продовжувати. І ми будемо це продовжувати. Я вдячний кожному і кожній, хто з цим допомагає, хто виробляє дрони, хто постачає, хто тренує операторів дронів та загалом, хто просуває цю тему. Українське лідерство в цьому технологічному аспекті, воно дійсно відчутне. Сьогодні ж на ставці детально проаналізували наші можливості у РЕП. Те, що вже робиться, те, що демонструє реальні бойові успіхи, і те, що маємо зробити додатково. Плюс ракетна програма, наша ракетна програма має хорошу динаміку, і хоч це важке завдання, але поступово ми наближаємось до можливості застосовувати свої ракети, а не лише покладатись на ракети у постачанні від партнерів. Україна має із часом вийти на максимальну оборонну самостійність. І саме такі держави завжди легше знаходять дієвих союзників та реалізують свої інтереси. Друге, за сьогодні кілька міжнародних розмов. Був із візитом в Україні державний секретар Ватикану кардинал Паролін. Я дякую за цей сигнал. Це сигнал підтримки України, українців, нашого прагнення жити у власній державі і справді жити мирно. Ми цінуємо і те, що кардинал Паролін відвідав не тільки Київ, був ще в Одесі, Бердичеві, Львові, бачив настрій наших людей, об'єктивні потреби цього часу. Ми обговорили, що саме може бути зроблено в цьому році, щоб наблизити справедливий мир для України. Дуже важливо і для нас, і для справи миру, як такої, щоб Ватикан був активним у захисті життя і в допомозі нам реалізувати формулу миру. Її пункти, особливо те, що стосується звільнення полонених. Хороша зустріч, сподіваюсь, результати будуть. Також говорив із новим прем'єр-міністром Естонії, подякував за підтримку, за багаторівневу нашу взаємодію, домовились про зустріч. Звичайно, ми будемо продовжувати всю нашу співпрацю і політичну, і оборонну. І сьогодні ж керівник Офісу Андрій Єрмак говорив з Філом Гордоном, радником з питань національної безпеки віце-президентки США Камали Гарріс. Саме на рівні віце-президентки Америка брала участь у першому саміті миру. І важливо, щоб не зменшувалась динаміка нашої спільної роботи заради справедливого миру. Всі наші партнери на всіх рівнях знають і знатимуть надалі, які перспективи є і що справедливий мир дійсно може бути повернутий якнайшвидше. Ще одне. Я дякую за влучність воїнам нашої 110-ї окремої механізованої бригади. Збили черговий російський Су-25 на Донеччині. Те, що потрібно. Молодці хлопці. Слава Україні!
And Heroam Slava. And with that, that is the end of the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky here on day 881 of the war in Ukraine. And it hit me today, Matthew. We are 19 days away from day 900 and only 119 days away from day 1000 of the war, meaning that from that point forward, the day number is going to be in the 4 digits, which is really weird to think that that's only a few months away.
Man, it's going to take away a piece of our title. That's going to be a challenge right there.
It's going to take away an extra damn character, Matthew. Like, what are we going to do? But anyways, I got to say, it's been an incredibly fun night getting to cover all the news with y'all. Stick around, though, because we're about to be moving on into the second segment of the stream where we get to talk to all of y'all, which is always incredibly fun. And another thing I got to say, another little thing. this just aggravates me a little bit. 63,000 people have watched this stream so far, just in 2 hours.
Wow.
That is mind-blowing. And then YouTube tells us that the peak viewership is only 6.1. That is a lie. And that ain't true, because like with that kind
Mark my words, over 9, or not over, but about 9,000 people concurrently were probably watching the stream tonight. Just wait and see.
Oh, I would have put money on it. I'm not doubting that at all. Because if y'all don't know this, the other day on Sunday, it said that we only had 6.1 thousand people here live. It finally updated. We actually had 8.4 thousand people on live at the peak that night. So once again, I don't know what YouTube is doing, but they keep on underreporting us when we're live. I have no idea why, but the view count doesn't lie, and there's so many of y'all here, and we don't even get to see y'all. I'm guessing that there's still probably 5,000 or 6,000 of y'all here right now. We don't really know for certain, but we are absolutely happy to have all of y'all here, whether we can see y'all or we can't. We love to have y'all here, and we thank y'all all so much for watching this so far. But make sure to stick around, because we have loads of fun to go. Loads of it. A lot of it. But before we get into all the fun, we have to start off with just a little bit of fun, which is a interesting question that we have about what happened in the Koreas today. As many of y'all know, the trash balloons are back. And today, we actually heard that one of the trash balloons landed on the South Korean presidential office, which is pretty crazy because they were just unguided balloons, and the fact that it did that is pretty interesting. So, a lot of people have been talking about this, and a lot of people have been wondering, will things drastically escalate because a little bit of a poo-poo got on the Presidential Palace Plaza? Not many people know, but it's a question of concern because that ham might be hung. But Matthew, what are people saying, and what are you thinking about it?
All right, so after we heard that the North Koreans dropped a hot bag of doo-doo on South Korea's presidential office complex, will things drastically escalate? 47% said only a petty response is expected, while 22% said yes, it'll cause a major escalation, and another 22% said no, nothing will escalate at all. And on this one, the status quo, sort of like the tit for tat that's been going on, are pretty much petty responses. And even though this did land on the presidential office complex, I don't think this is going to cause a major escalation, because it would not look good for South Korea to say, hey, look, we're going to go to war over some doo-doo being dropped on our front steps. That would probably not be a good look. But at the same time, though, we have to keep in mind that North Korea is doing some serious things outside of the doo-doo balloons right here. I just saw an article from Yonhap News, which is a pretty big South Korean newspaper. It says that North Korea is estimated to have sent over 5 million artillery shells to Russia thus far, and are expected to send even more in the future. So North Korea is doing significant things against Ukraine in the background while this stuff's going on with the doo-doo balloons. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that this is just a really shitty situation.
It is.
Pun intended. But beyond that, I would say I don't think anything's going to escalate that much out of this. This is going to be one of those weird moments in like the border relations where people look back in 30 years and they're like, did you know that they like flew crap balloons over the border? Like it actually happened. And people are going to be like, really? And people are going to be like, yeah. But I don't think anything major is really going to come out of this, in my opinion. Also, I saw someone say, and I think it was Quantum Fighter, if I'm right. I'm not really sure. But someone said, isn't the North Korean White House the blue house? Now it's brown and blue. It's like, oh no. It's like, come on, man. Give it some respect. Let me go show y'all the blue house, by the way, because I bet y'all don't know where that is. Because I sure as hell don't know where it is either. Oh, there's a lot of them. Look at that, dude. There's loads of them.
The blue house.
So the blue house, what about this one that's like $300 a night right here? What does this one look like? Oh, damn.
Oh, damn. That's like a freaking resort.
I don't think that's a house, and I don't think it's blue, but oh my goodness.
Damn. They're living large. This must be where the dignitaries go.
Man, $300 a night. That's, I'm not going to lie, that's pretty expensive for a hotel room per night. But that's
if it was in DC, it would cost $550 or $600 a night.
I know, like that's the crazy thing. It's like this isn't really that expensive, all things considered, for this kind of quality. Look at that, dude! This is crazy cool. Like this is actually a really nice place, the Grand Hyatt Seoul. I'll have to keep that in mind if we ever go over there. Maybe just stay one night there, and then we'll have to sleep on the street for the rest of it because we won't be able to afford anything else. But that's still pretty freaking nice. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. But where? Okay, so I'm gonna type this in again. Blue house. Okay, is this the blue house? Here we go. Here's the blue house. This is the presidential house, pretty much, in South Korea. That's it, right there.
Interesting. It's a big mountain behind it.
Pretty big. They also have these nice little statues. They have these people living happy lives. They have these other people living happy lives. They have this crane. Then here's the actual blue house.
Oh wow! Look at the lawn. The lawn, man. An HOA member would be proud.
Dude, there ain't no HOA complaints coming in on this one. Like they're like, it's good. We promise you, it's good. But one thing that's actually crazy about these is that back in the day, the North Koreans actually had an infiltration team make it all the way to the Blue House, and a firefight actually happened literally outside of the building between North Korean special agents and the pretty much South Korean Secret Service. All of the North Koreans ended up getting killed.
Wow, I didn't know that for sure.
Yeah, I forgot what that was called, but it happened in the 70s, and it was a big deal when it happened. But nowadays that kind of stuff just wouldn't happen, because how the hell would a North Korean creep up? Well, actually, interesting enough, there's like this little corridor that you can take through the mountains here, like straight to it, dude. Like there was just nothing there. So I guess you wanted to do some mountain climbing, you could probably get all the way down to the Blue House. But beyond that, oh, what's this? We got that Gyeongbokgung Palace. Let's check this out. I'm interested. Oh, that's actually really cool. This must be like
it's like a big schoolyard or something.
Dude, that's the best you can come up with. Dude, that's like a sick schoolyard, dude. Yeah, I would say this is pretty cool. This is like Seoul's version of the Forbidden City, kind of. It's really neat, actually. I would like to come here and see this one day. I didn't even know this kind of stuff was in Seoul. Cool. I like that. But man, what else do they have? I'm actually kind of interested now. They have a decent amount of palaces around this place. But what does a normal street in Seoul look like this one?
These streets look like they have soul.
Dude, they do look like they have soul, man. And it actually looks really clean. Dude, how in the world could
Have you ever tried some good soul food?
Let's see. I haven't. I was trying to think. I was like,
some ramyeon.
Ah, dude, Jinx! Dude, Jinx!
Are you from the pride of the SNU? Some ramyeon. When are they coming out with Squid Game Season 2? I know it's coming out soon. Does anybody know the date?
Man, it's going to be a great show because there's only going to be one character left from Season 1 because literally everyone else died except for... Wait, except for that one other guy, though, that ran the game. But, anyways, let's see. Dude, what a name.
That's interesting. You're going to call them on the telly?
Aw, man. I really need to get some designs from these guys. Go through another romp in the forest with my yee-yee-ass haircut. Oh, man. But, yeah, that's this place. Wait, hang on. What do we got here? Money exchange. No pound sign. Just dollars, euros, yen, and... the pi symbol with a little line above it. I don't know what money that is.
Seriously speaking, though, if anything ever happens to the YouTube thing and we're ever put out of business or something, I might have to go to South Korea and open up a restaurant called Soul Food, like with the name Soul in it. Punch it in on Google. Is there a place called Soul Food already here? Because if somebody hasn't taken that, that's a golden opportunity. I need to go do that.
Wait a minute. Hold on. No way. Hang on.
No, it's just called Food Court.
Oh.
They hadn't taken it.
Man,
I just gave somebody $1 million idea if they want to open a restaurant like that. Soul Food.
We're copywriting that right now. Wait, hang on. Soul Food. Korean food. Dude, you just got Korean food. And then, oh my... Yapyong Seoul Hangover Soup. Kunad El Jip. Dongmyo Station Branch Korean Food Hangover Soup. Damn, dude, what a name.
That Dong Meow Station, they got the best hangover soup. What in the world?
We got to go check this place out. Oh. Hello. They got that hangover soup, though. I'm not telling
this hangover soup? Man, that looks good.
Man, they got that cuz. Man, they got that cuz. And I was like, damn,
it tastes like piss.
Man, it tastes like piss. Man. This looks pretty good. Now, we need to see the reviews because they only have 3 stars. What could be going on here? I went to this restaurant late in the evening. When I told them the food was not in good condition and spoiled, the waitress said the other customers were eating well. She doesn't say any apology. I would never go to the restaurant again. Disgusting. Let's see here. Good soup, good prices. Had some business to do in the area. I came here because the reviews were high. At 12 o'clock, store was crowded. Hormone soup became very delicious when I added salt and pepper myself. The sauce was delicious, and I enjoyed all of the offal. The cheese cutlet was disappointing. It was too oily. The staff were polite to us who didn't speak Korean. What the hell is hormone soup?
And what's hormone soup? And also, how does the Korean restaurant employees and waitresses and stuff not speak Korean?
Who knows, man? But, you know, you go in here, man, you get the hormone soup. You're like, hey, mister, I like some hormone soup. You have a couple of sips. Thank you, man. The hormone soup was delicious. It's like, dude, I don't know what's in the hormone soup, but, what the hell? This person just left numbers. Food 2. Out of what? Like 2 out of 10? 2 out of 5? Like what? Service 3, atmosphere 3. 2 stars. Dude,
what a critic.
South Koreans are brutal with the reviews, man. Like, it's like, geez, like, be a little nicer, man. Like, you know, like, but let's see here. Hang on, we gotta, is that like normal for the restaurants to have like 3 stars in this part of the world? Like, is that just, let's go to Korea House. I mean, maybe we'll find 4.3 stars. Well, what did they have here, though? This looks like it would cost an arm and a leg. I'm just putting that out there because of how little there is on the plate. This must be very expensive to eat, like, leaves and some pickles, maybe. Someone's about to be like, how dare you disrespect? Look, it looks like leaves and pickles, okay? Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat that. Oh, my. Yeah, this place has got to be wildly expensive, man. You look.
Oh, they have almonds on a plate.
Dude, they literally have a essence of almond. Like, it's like a paper-thin slice. You can see through it on that plate. And maybe a strawberry or something right there. But a very small piece of it. I wouldn't eat here. Because, are those just, like, is that, like, wet pine straw that they put in this bowl? Like, I'm not insulting Korean food. Because I've seen Korean food. And it is really good. And it looks really good. Like, authentic Korean food. But this, I don't know what this is, and it doesn't look that great. So let's go to an Indian restaurant. Oh, they have an Indian restaurant here. Huh. All right.
Very at peace.
So I'm wondering, Matthew, is this his mouth here, or is that his nose and his mouth is kind of open like this down here? You see that little part? You know what I mean? Like, I can't tell.
You could just have a butt chin.
Man, it looks like he's about to go, oh, hello there, or he's about to go, or something like that. That's like one or the other, depending on how you take the way his face is shaped. They got wings. Those actually look pretty okay. Whatever that is, that doesn't look that bad. What else do they have? This actually looks fairly good. That, if that was a factory meal, Matthew, I would be like, I know what that is. I don't know what that is, considering it's an Indian dish, but it looks kind of okay. This doesn't look that bad. What are the reviews on this place? 4.5 star. So apparently that other place just sucks, because the other place has like 4.5 stars, all of them do, and then that one had 3. So I'm guessing it must be pretty bad. But anyways, with that, we have been on the whole South Korean restaurant thing enough. And so we're going to have to put a Jongog on this whole thing and move on. But still, I got to say that this has been one interesting trip to look at. I hope y'all found the poll interesting. I hope y'all found the rabbit hole a little interesting as well, because, you know, it's interesting stuff to look at here and there. We don't really get to look around a lot because we don't get to travel at all. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. And we are on into the questions. So what do we have, Matthew?
All right, it's now time to move into our final Super Chat segment of the night. And I have a feeling that I'm about to be saying happy birthday to myself quite a bit. So here we go. And we have a $100 donation. Massive support from Purple Gerbil. And thank you very much, Purple Gerbil, for that massive support. They said, happy birthday, Enforcer Matt, and get yourself a nice present. And thank you very much, Purple Gerbil, for the happy birthday wishes. And like I said, this will go to the Lotta Upgrade Fund. We're upgrading from the Lotta Small to the Lotta Large. A whole lot of problems, and they're a whole lot of large. But thank you very much, Purple Gerbil, for that support. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I gotta say, thank you so much for that whole lot of support, Purple Jobble. And I gotta say, thank you so much once again for enjoying this channel and helping it to keep on running and wishing Enforcer Matt a happy birthday. He appreciates it greatly, and he had a great one. And he will make sure to get himself a nice present. He's actually looking at a super infused, super duplex, triple quadrant charger. I don't know. I'm just coming up with crap off the top of my head, but still, thank you so much once again for support, Purple Gerbil. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one. But thank you once again.
Yes, indeed. And up next, we have a $70 super chat, also very generous support from Cypress96. And thank you very much, Cypress. They said, happy birthday to Matt, and keep up the good work, Enforcers, and I enjoy watching the streams. And thank you very much for the happy birthday wishes as well, and for helping to keep our work running. We enjoy doing it, and I'm glad you enjoy the streams as well. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I gotta thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. It's incredibly kind of you. And if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to keep this channel running. And so I gotta say thank you so much for enjoying these streams, and also thank you so much for really wishing Matthew a happy birthday. He is always happy to have everyone happy that he's having a birthday. I mean, you've got to have.
That sounds logical.
Yeah, he's always happy to have a happy birthday. I mean, it just makes sense. But still, I thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And I hope I was able to address that fairly well. I'm going to start running out of things to say for the birthday wishes things, but still, thank you so much, and thank you for wanting us to keep up the good work, Cypress96. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next super chats are going to go to Shakamuck, who put in a $50 donation, and also Andy L, who put in a $50 as well. Huge shout out to Shakamuck and also Andy for that support. They both said, happy birthday, Matt, and long live the LSA. And huge shout out to both of you. Like I said, I had a very happy birthday indeed. No cake, but I did have cookies. But luckily, the Marmot has cake, so he'll hold down the fort. But thank you very much, both of you, for that support. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I gotta say, thank you so much to both of y'all. Shakamuk or Shakamuk. Either way you want to read that. And also Andy L for the support and wishing Matthew a happy birthday. And of course, thank you, Andy L, for saying long live the LSA. The LSA is amazing. It will live long and prosperous. And I gotta thank you greatly so much once again for enjoying this channel, the both of y'all, and helping this channel to keep on running. Because if it wasn't for both of y'all, we wouldn't be able to be here for us to have birthdays time and time again on air. And so with that, thank you to both of y'all so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you so much once again.
All right, and we also had another $50 super chat. This time a combined $150 from Purple Gerbil once again. And thank you very much, Purple Gerbil. They said, I hope this puts us over the top. And I'm not sure what you mean by over the top. I think you might have meant maybe over the top with the birthday wishes, maybe, I think. But thank you very much, Purple Gerbil, once again for that support. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I thank you for the support once again as well, Purple Gerbil. And hopefully this does put us over the top of birthday celebrations. Birthdays rejoice. Oh, it's wonderful to have a birthday, isn't it? It's just so much fun, especially at our house. It's cards, cookies, and that's it. Get lost. But still, thank you so much once again for support. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And of course, thank you so much once again for always being here with this channel and always helping us to keep this thing running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, Purple Gerbil, we wouldn't be able to be here right now. And so, thank you once again. And we are on to the next one.
And our next super chat goes to John H. He puts in a 50, and thank you very much, John. And he says, happy birthday to Matt, and thank you very much for the happy birthday wishes as well. He said, how many S-300 and S-400s do you think have been sufficiently destroyed to be removed from service? And thanks to the Enforcer Matt for doing such a great job with the channel, and Slava Ukraine and LSA.
Hey, it's Slava Ukraine, and long live the Spring Army, and happy birthday to Enforcer Matt. Again, happy birthday, Matthew. Happy birthday. But from what we know, about 100 S-300s and S-400s combined have been confirmed destroyed almost completely. And that is an incredibly large number. It's not the entirety of the Russian surface-to-air missile defense system network, but it is a considerable amount of it. That's a rough estimate, though, because we don't really have a good idea for certain, but we have seen many of the targeting and acquisition radars destroyed so far through the war, and also a large amount of launchers as well. So we are assuming that a great deal of them have ended up getting knocked out of the war completely, but we can't ever be entirely certain on that, because those kinds of numbers are really hard to get, because the S300s and S400s aren't single vehicles, they are entire batteries of vehicles, and so it's really hard to ascertain direct battery losses off of our individual clips that we get, but I would assume that it's probably around a little under or a little over 100, somewhere around there. And so with that, I hope that does address that incredibly well, John H. And I got to thank you so much once again for enjoying this channel and helping it to keep on running and saying that we're doing a great job, because we try to do a great job. We try to put out the news every day, 6 days a week, as much as we can, as good as we can. And I got to say that we are happy to know that you enjoy this channel and like to see it running and like to see the efforts we make. I mean, I got to say. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And we are on to the next one.
All right, so moving into our next super chat, we have one from, let's see here, if the spreadsheet's going to cooperate. We have one from Zach G. He puts in a $50 donation, and huge shout out to Zach as well. He said, happy birthday, and great job on the streams to the both of you, and victory to Ukraine. And big shout out, Zach. Thank you very much.
And a big shout out to you as well, Zach. And thank you so much. And thank you for saying we do a great job. We try our best to do a great job. Believe me. We really do. We really do. And I got to say, a huge thank you so much once again for enjoying this channel and helping to keep on running. Because folks like you who support it help us to keep doing a great job. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that. I hope it does incredibly well. And with that, we're about to be moving on to the next one. But still, happy birthday once again to Enforcer Matt. Happy birthday, Matthew. And of course, a victory to Ukraine. And with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you so much once again.
All right, and up next, we have two more super chats. These are left without comments. We have another $50 donation from Andy L., the channel legend. And thank you very much, Andy, once again for that support. Also, we might get to check out Texas maybe sometime soon. I hope. Maybe. We might be able to see it. But maybe. I don't count on it, though, but we might be able to see it, hopefully. But also, huge shout-out to Dixie LaFleur, who put in a 20 as well. And thank you very much, Dixie, for that $20 support. And once again, huge shout out to Andy and Dixie for helping to keep the channel running. And Enforcer, what say you?
And a huge shout out to Andy L. and Dixie LaFleur for supporting this channel and helping to keep running. We are always massively appreciative of both of y'all's support. And I got to thank y'all both. While y'all didn't throw in a comment, y'all support helps us to keep making comments all the way through the year. All the way to next year when I have my birthday again and when Matthew has his birthday again. Because while the war in Ukraine might end, the party on this stream will never end. We'll always be here pretty much until something happens. Either I die, Matthew dies, or we move on, or y'all move on, or something like that. We're going to be here. We're always going to be here. And I got to thank you so much to the both of y'all once again for your support and helping this channel to keep on running. Because if it wasn't for folks like y'all, we wouldn't be able to be here. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. I hope it does. I really do. Did it address it well? Let me know. How's my driving? 1-800. But anyway, still, thank you once again. And we are on to the next one.
All right. Real quick.
Wait. Before we move on. Causa Morena. Warmongers and evildoers. Shame on you. Oh, there we go. Yeah, got it. Yeah.
I was just about to comment on that when I was about to say, and real quick, I have to boot this bot, but you shouted him out. I got him.
Man, I had to shout that one out because I like how they just said, shame on you. It's like, oh, shame on me. It's like, okay, all right, well, I'm still going to go to sleep tonight and wake up tomorrow. What are you going to do? Nothing. You're going to cry on the internet. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
All right, so next up, we have a $40 donation from Lazarus7049. He said, happy birthday, and thank you for your efforts. And Lazarus, thank you very much for that. And also, by the way, there's about 4 more super chats here which say similarly the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and read them all, Enforcer, and address them real quick. The first one obviously was from Lazarus, and a huge shout out to you, Lazarus, for that $40 support and wishing me a happy birthday, and also thanking us both for the efforts. We also have a $30 donation from Howard Turgell, the channel legend. He says, happy birthday, Matt, and tacos. And hopefully I'll have tacos again. Well, actually, I'll be honest with you. I actually had tacos about a day. Actually, it was yesterday, believe it or not. I actually had tacos in the evening, and they screwed the order up really badly. I didn't get any tacos I was trying to look for. But thank you. I did have tacos yesterday. Not the type I tried to get, but it was some tacos of some sort. It was Taco Bell, so I'll just give a spoiler there. But thank you, Howard, as well. We also had a 24 from Just Chillin', who said, Enforcer Matt, happy belated 24th birthday. And thank you very much, Just Chillin', one as well. You've been around the channel for a very long time, and I appreciate it very much. And I did have a happy birthday. We also have a 24 from Colin Lyon, who puts in $24. Happy birthday for 24. And thank you very much, Colin. I appreciate it very much. 24, a big number, a getting old number, but thank you very much as well. And we also had a 23 from Cliff H, who said, to the Happy Birthday Fund. And thank you very much, Cliff H, as well. And that shall go to the Happy Birthday Fund. And once again, thank you all to all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of you for that support, and also the kind words as well. But I had to do quick math. But Enforcer, what say you?
I gotta thank the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of y'all. I gotta thank the 6 of y'all.
It's actually 5. It's actually 5. I miscounted this. It's not 6.
Whoopsies. But still, I gotta thank all 5 of y'all for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. Let me make sure to call out y'all's names. Lazarus 7049, Howard Turgell, Just Chillin', Colin Leon, and Cliff H. I gotta thank all 5 of y'all for the support and wishing Matthew a happy birthday. It's wonderful to see so many people wishing Matthew a happy birthday today. It's really crazy to think, y'all. It really is. That a while ago, because when we were in high school, just to tell y'all a little bit about how our lives were, when we were in high school back in the day, back in our small little town, we lived way off in the woods. So we didn't really get to go out a lot, and of course we didn't have cars and stuff, so, you know, getting out and going anywhere was impossible. You just stay at your house. So when birthdays came around, there was like no happy birthday wishes unless you were in school at the time. Matthew was never in school. I was sometimes, and some people might say happy birthday or something like that. But that wasn't that often. Then you go home and there would be no one that would wish you a happy birthday except for our parents because there was no one else around. And it's really crazy to go from that to loads of people, you know, who are members of the LSA wish us happy birthday when our birthdays come around. Like, I have seen at least 5,000 happy birthdays to Matthew tonight. That's a lot of happy birthdays right there. That's a small town wishing Matthew a happy birthday. And that is pretty cool to see, and I gotta say, it's very nice. It's very heartwarming to see y'all all wishing Matthew a happy birthday, and a huge thanks to y'all, all of y'all, once again, for doing that and being so kind. And thank you to all 5 of you folks once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, and also wishing Matthew a happy birthday so that way we can have many more in the future. Amen. And with that, thank you so much once again. We are on to the next one.
All right, and our next super chat goes to, guess who? Purple Gerbil once again, who puts in a $20 donation. And Gerbil says, let's get the party started. Great short this afternoon, and take one from the chat and LSA.
Hey, and we did get that party started. We got it started really good. And I gotta say, we got a great short this afternoon. I gotta thank you for agreeing and liking it, because that was one of the longest ones we've made. Funnily enough, the view duration on that thing was 10 minutes. Like, everyone on average watched at least 10 minutes of it. Maybe a little bit over that, maybe a little under that, but about 10 minutes, which is crazy to see because we very rarely get that kind of viewer retention on a video. But beyond that, I gotta say, I thank you for enjoying it. I went into some of the stuff about Ukrainian-Chinese relations in that video. Seemed to be pretty thought-provoking for some. They put down their comments on what they thought about it, whether they agreed or disagreed. It's always fun to see that kind of stuff. And I got to say, a huge thanks to you so much once again for helping this channel to keep on running, Purple Joyful, and making this channel possible. And we will make sure to take one from the chat. The first one we've actually been able to take from the chat tonight. And thank you so much once again for sponsoring. And so, what do we got, Matthew, in honor of Purple Gerbil's super chat?
All right, and this live chat question is going to go to Howard Turgell. He says, has Russian talked about using nukes, prevented other players from getting involved?
I don't think so. As far as European nations, no one's ever really wanted to get directly involved in the war. Most of that, if anyone ever said it, was kind of hype talk. So no one really ever wanted to get directly involved in the war. So going off of that, I would say not really. The nuke talk has only made them really look weaker in the public's eye and really in most nations' eyes, because it shows that they have literally nothing to fall back on but weapons of mass destruction, because they really don't have anything else to leverage at this point, at least militarily, or diplomatically, or economically for that matter. But with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, at least in my opinion. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next super chat goes to Tom Exman, also the channel legend, who puts in that 20. And thank you very much, Tom, for that support. He says, happy birthday to Matt. And thank you very much. Matt says thank you, and Matt appreciates it very much. And Enforcer, what say you?
And Matthew does appreciate it a lot, Tom X. But I gotta thank you so much for supporting the channel, helping to keep on running, and wishing Matthew a happy birthday. I know he's happy about it. He loves his birthdays, and we all love his birthdays because it means he's still alive. Hey, that's something worth celebrating. And so with that, thank you so much once again, Tom X. And I hope that does address that well. Thank you so much once again. And we are on to the next one.
And our next super chat goes to the Urban Cover, who puts in a 20. And thank you very much to the Urban Cover for the support. He said, happy birthday from Albania, and long live LSA.
And thank you so much for wishing Matthew a happy birthday all the way from Albania. Really cool. And also, you know, Matthew, we've looked a little bit at Albania before. I was wondering what that Lege district up here looks like. What does this look like?
Lege.
In Albania. What does it look like? They're doing
Oh,
some...
look at concrete mixer. There's a barrel on the roof.
There are barrels on the roof. Like, really on stilts, too. And then we got this nice building right here. Fairly nice apartment building. Interesting. So what does... Let's see here. What does the beach area look like? Because they got some hotels on this thing right here. All right, so let's flip her around.
Oh, that's actually pretty nice.
Yeah, that's really nice, actually. It's on the Adriatic. The water's, like, nice and blue out there. That's really nice. And then the hotels aren't that bad looking either.
Yeah, I like this a lot. It looks like it could be a good vacation spot, really.
It really does, man. Like, look at that. Look at that right here. It's on the Adriatic. What does the other side near Brindisi look like near the beach? Do they even have beaches? Oh my goodness, this is a beach in an industrial area. It's like, I don't think you go swimming there. Do they have beaches in this part of it? They have one here. It's not that big, though. What does it look like? Oh, that's really nice, too.
It's like a British beach or something, like over in like the top part of the country.
Yeah, it kind of is. Let's take a look at the pictures here. That is really clear water, man. Like, the Adriatic is really nice looking, actually. I would like to go swimming in the Adriatic. Like, look at that, dude. That is, like, bathtub clear. That's like that South Florida panhandle water kind of clear, you know?
Yeah, it's very clear, man. That's like some bath water out there.
Man, I'm telling you, man, that's what Southerners love, man. They love that bathtub water. That's how we describe the quality of water. And look at that Dougie. Look at that little Dougie.
It looks proper. Oh, this water is cold.
Man, that thing looks like it's about to go, Quisapi, Vadici, Barmoni. It's like it's about to like go off on someone. But man, I'm telling you, this is a nice. I really like the Adriatic, man. I think you know what? We're gonna have to find out. What is it like to swim in the Adriatic? Like, wait, hang on. One more place before we go. Where is Spit? That's a town, by the way. That's not fake. Where is it? It's in Croatia, right? But where? Am I forgetting where this town is? Hang on, let me... Split. It's Split. Oh my god, I sound stupid. I said Spit. Oh my lord, I'm gonna get eaten alive for that. It's gonna look like a clown. Oh my lord. So let's... Look at this, Matty. This one is aptly named Beach. Let's take a look.
I like it when they name them simple like that, so it really should remember. This is nice, though.
Dude, the Adriatic is the place to be. Like, this is so
Especially
nice.
that water, though, the sharks are going to be, like, hanging out in really big league because that water's too clear, too nice to not have something lurking.
Well, hang on. Sharks in the Adriatic Sea. Are there sharks in Croatia's water? Yes. Are there sharks in the Adriatic? 47 different species of sharks are found in the Adriatic.
I told you, man, they're lurking out here. When the water's too nice looking, the sharks are lurking like really close.
So apparently, the chances of being attacked are low. Wait a minute, hang on. Someone put 8 reasons you should never swim in the Adriatic. Hold up, wait a minute. So let's see. What are the reasons? What are the reasons? Secluded spots. Let's see. Sea temperatures. Let's see. What the hell? This is like a BS thing. Like, it's like...
Did they mention the sharks?
Oh, wait, hang on. Everyone wonders about the presence of sharks, but this is really not an issue. Over the last 150 years, there have only been 11 attacks leading to death in Croatia. So...
I'm just saying, I'm calling cap on that. You're telling me in 150 years it's only been 11 people? That's like I don't know if I buy that.
Let's see. How many shark attacks
They must be the really aggressive sharks that just yank you under and you don't even know they got bit.
Let's see. Since 1868, there have been 11 recorded deadly attacks in the Adriatic. And so that's it. Like, that is actually incredibly
Deadly
low.
ones. What about the attacks in general, I wonder?
Let's see. Have there been shark attacks? The last shark attack was recorded in 2008 in a bay on island Vis. Let's see. So
2008 was a bad year, like a recession and sharks getting people in the Adriatic for the first time in centuries. That was a bad year.
And then Russia invaded Georgia. I mean, it was like it was a pretty rough year all the way around. But apparently shark attacks in the Adriatic are very slim. So how many shark attacks in Florida? Let's find out. The average number of shark bites in Florida over the last 5 years is 19. Let's see. So, what is the most common shark yearly worldwide shark attack summary? They actually have one. Let's see here. Provoked bites.
Provoked bites? Who the hell's provoking a shark to bite them?
So let's see here. Hang on. I'm trying to see that. 2023, 16. Dang, dude. Florida is actually the most shark-infested waters in the world, according to attacks. According to the Florida Museum of Wildlife, Florida annually makes up 23% of the shark attacks in the world annually.
Now, I believe that because recently there's been a lot of people getting eaten up by those sharks down there. Like, I don't even want to get in the water. I remember when we got in the water last time, like 5 years ago, there were sharks all over the damn place in the water. Like, you were just literally swimming around them. You could see the small little sharks, and I'm sure the big one was probably out there, you know, a little deeper, because we didn't go out that deep, like past the sandbar or anything, but those sharks are really populated down there, heavy.
So actually, interestingly enough, going off of these numbers, the Adriatic is probably one of the safest places to swim as far as shark attacks go, while where we've been swimming our entire lives in Florida is apparently Shark Alley, because you go down there and it makes up literally annually a quarter of the shark attacks around the world every single year, which is really bizarre, and it is getting worse.
Or could it be that it's not really that there's a lot of shark attacks happening because there's a lot of sharks that are angry, but could it be that there's more swimmers in Florida, like they go to the beach there instead of the Adriatic? Maybe a lot of people don't go swimming there.
Maybe, but then again, like when you think about it though, a lot of people go swimming all over. Like there's loads of people swimming in California, and there's loads of people swimming down in Alabama. But we don't make up. Well, then again, our shoreline's incredibly small. But let's think about other places people would swim. France, the Riviera, you know, people go swimming in the French Riviera, and they also go swimming in Britain, in, let's see, what else, in Turkey, and in Greece, and let's see, Egypt. Let's think of other places. Nowhere in Asia, because the water's just so damn filthy, you die, you know, not from a shark, you just die from the pollution. Australia, you know, Bondi Beach, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of places where people go swimming. There's high populations, but no one's getting attacked and eaten like that much like they are in Florida. So
You think the Russians have set up those like shark ultrasonic like sound generators to make the sharks angry down there in Florida?
Man, I wonder, man. Like, dude, the sharks just sit there swimming. They hear that, whoa, 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 and they go, I must eat Americans, boy. Like, I'm hungry.
There's a loudspeaker down there in the water talking about, hello, sharks, bliat, suka, go get that American.
Nah, man, they sit there, hello, great lad. Your country has abandoned you. Exit vengeance upon capitalist pig, eat leg. Like, or something like that. And the shark's like, must eat leg. It must re-bring back a USSR, or something like that, because like, that's crazy, man, that Florida makes up a quarter of the freaking world shark attacks. Like, look how small Florida is on a world map. Like, look how small it is, and that little area makes up a quarter of all the shark attacks.
What if it's because, you know, the Gulf had the oil spills and stuff? Maybe that's the way of the sharks to get even. They're going to go to Florida and they're going to fix everybody up.
Man, they got to be American sharks then, man. They're like, we got to protect our oil. These damn people on shore steal our oil. Eat them. Or something like that. But yeah, maybe so. I don't know. But still, with that, very interesting. Thank you so much for the support and being from Albania. You really led us on like a big rabbit hole to find out that the Adriatic is gorgeous. Like I would actually go swimming there. Like if I ever get the chance to go in that area of the world, I would swim in the Adriatic because it looks clean for one, and two, it's really picturesque all around the entire sea. So maybe one day we'll have to do that. But still, thank you so much once again for support. I hope that does address that the best I can. And thank you so much once again for wishing Matthew a happy birthday as well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And our next super chat here is going to go to Wellness LSA Latvia, who puts in a $30 donation. And thank you very much, Wellness, for that very generous support. And this one says, happy birthday to Matt. And hello, Enforcer. Thank you for greatly running the channel, because without folks like you, this wouldn't be possible. Huge thanks to you once again, and I hope that addresses that well. LSA, what say you?
And I gotta say, thank you so much for wishing Matthew a happy birthday, Wellness LSA Latvia. Matthew is very appreciative, and we are thankful to know that everyone wanted Matthew to have a happy birthday. And also, thank you so much for enjoying us running this channel. We put a lot of effort into this. We say that so much nowadays. Like during the super chat segment, I say that like maybe 30 times, but we do. And we love to know that people really do enjoy it. It's a big thing. And without folks like you, it wouldn't be possible, Wilderness. How did you know I was going to say that? How did you know? But still, huge thanks. Thank you so much once again. Thank you. And also, I hope that I did address that well, Wilderness LSA Lobby. You know the whole damn spill. Like, you literally did the whole spill. But still, thank you so much once again. And with that, I'm not going to say I hope that does address that well. I'm going to try and stop that for at least this one. And we're on to the next one. But thank you once again.
All right, and our next one here goes to JMP Traveler, who puts in a $20 donation, and thank you very much, JMP Traveler, for that support as well. He said, happy birthday to Matt, and not only am I old enough to be your mom, I'm like 10 years off, technically, from being your grandma. So here's some money for candy, and maybe one of those TikToks that you young people talk about. And thank you very much for the happy birthday wishes as well. I am honestly not sure, because I am one of those young people that we're talking about here. I'm not sure what the TikToks is. I've never heard of that. Even being the young folk out here, I've never heard of them TikToks. So, Enforcer, Jangy, pull that up and let's see what that's all about.
I couldn't find nothing. I think that's supposed to be TikTok, maybe, but I don't like
TikToks.
I don't like TikTok though. Every time I go on TikTok, dude, I'm not kidding, man. I've seen the freaking PLA accounts on TikTok now. I went on there and I tried to scroll through it a little bit, and I actually got some guy he was literally doing the PLA style march in a farm field with a hoe. I'm talking about
with a hoe.
Yeah, with a farming hoe. That doesn't really clarify it much better because there's a lot of hoes in farming. But the farming implement that is used as a tool, that doesn't do it any better either, does it? Okay, so the iron-ended tool on a wooden stick that is used for farming, that is also called a hoe, but not the kind that is promiscuous. Although the hoe has been known to move around multiple fields, it is not promiscuous as in sleeping in multiple beds. I don't think anyone takes that kind of a hoe to bed. But beyond that, one thing I would say is that I saw that Matthew, and he was doing the whole PLA thing where he treated the hoe like a rifle, where he did that parade drill snap where they put the rifle forward and they start goose stepping. I saw that. I was like, no freaking way the PLA is actually running real accounts on TikTok trying to sway people to think that this is cool and everything, and China's strong. And the comments were like that, dude. They're like, man, that marching style is so good. And then, man, I would hate to kill you in war, man. Maybe I'll defect instead. I was like, you're American. I was like, what are you saying? I was like, this is stupid. But anyways,
man, I'm telling you what, they got real open with it. Once there was all that talk about banning TikTok and trying to divest it, they got real open with the propaganda, not even trying to hide it as soft propaganda anymore. Just make it straight up, right out in your face, no problem about it. But now there's talk going around that TikTok might actually be staying. So, sort of interesting here. I don't know what's going to happen with TikTok, but I'll be honest with you, JMP Travel. I see that they clarified. They said it's TikTok, definitely about TikTok. I actually have never been very fond of TikTok. To me, the short videos, I will admit, I occasionally go through the short videos and flick through them occasionally. I have found that does not do me good overall. It's a huge time waster. It also zaps you of all your endorphins or whatever the chemicals are your brain releases, or dopamine whenever you click through it, and it just makes you numb. And once I stopped flicking through the shorts, I was much better off. So I just don't like it. I don't like TikTok. I think it's like a way for them to like get you addicted to flicking through the short videos, and they know it addicts you to it, and they just keep on bringing you back and back and back, and then they'll throw in a little bit of that propaganda in there to sweeten the deal. But I'm not a fan of TikTok, but Enforcer isn't either. It sounds like it.
Man, next thing you know, I'm gonna get on TikTok and there's gonna be like a Chinese instructor. They're gonna be like, "Hello, I am from China, and today we learn how to say 我喜欢中国," meaning I like China or something like that. And I'm gonna be like, "No," I'm gonna be like, 我不喜欢中国, like, you know, something like that. But anyways, I gotta say, still, thank you so much for the support. I don't like TikTok. Like, I'll be honest, I don't like it that much. And a lot of people have actually in the past recommended, "Oh, why don't you make it TikTok?" And I'm like, no, hell no. I wouldn't, like, I don't want to put my pro-Western ideologies on some Chinese app. Like, my pro-Western rhetoric is specifically for pro-Western, well, not really pro-Western, but Western platforms like YouTube or YouTube or yeah, and that's about it. Like that's really just it. And then we go on to Twitter every once in a while, just go look at the cesspit, and then we come back. And so with that, hope that does address that. Well, also, by the way, I got to say, everyone who follows us on Twitter is not a part of the Twitter cesspit. Y'all are like some of the few reasonable people on Twitter. Like, you know, we're still finding them out there, and they're still joining us on Twitter. But I got to say, y'all, Twitter is a crazy place. Like, the stuff you'll see on Twitter, it really tops it all. Like, it's like, I don't even know how in the world a lot of the stuff makes it on there, and I don't know how a lot of people just come out and say whatever. You know, like, you'll hear some of the craziest conspiracy theories being thrown out from everyone out there is like just straight up normal. Like I can't even go into some of them because they are so crazy. But like the whole thing about Ukraine being like this massive secret world government plan, and then there's another one. This one's actually fairly recent. There are people on Twitter who were saying that the attempted assassination of a presidential candidate didn't happen and the entire thing was faked, and the person who got domed on the rooftop was just a dummy or a mannequin or something. Like I've seen, like, that's just one of them. That's like the most recent one I've seen. There's literal millions of them. That's just the one that's kind of floating around the most right now. And I'm like, man, this stuff is crazy that people can say this stuff with a straight face and believe it. You know, it's like I don't know how in the world people justify that in the modern day, man. Like, everything that happened in the past to them was real and did happen, and it was never part of a large government cabal or some secret global conspiracy until like some ambiguous time frame some decades ago, and then everything that you see is fake now. Like, nothing is real. Like, an attempted assassination, not real. Every other one in history, totally real, but this one's not real. And then, you know, like, governments doing these things, protecting their own interests, absolutely not. Now it's some kind of a global conspiracy. It's like, that is a little weird. Like, I don't know how people come up with that stuff.
I think it's just a coping mechanism personally. Like, I think people will see these like shocking events and they won't really want to believe them. Is they're like, how could something like this happen? And they just have like basically denial or disbelief of it. So they start coming up with all these like crazy theories, trying to basically convince themselves it's not true. It can't be true because I know it's not true. It's like a false like bias. And then they start going on all these crazy like tangents and things like this. But, you know, I'll admit the stuff that's been happening recently is actually kind of hard to believe. I'll be honest. It's just been so wild here recently. It's not going to make me start believing conspiracy theories or anything like that, but it's been really weird how many major like historical events we've been going through in just the past year or so, not only like in foreign policy, but even here in the United States. It's just crazy how much is going on. Like, it's hard to keep up with.
Yeah, I gotta say, it is really hard to keep up with. But one thing, man, that I remember, this is like one of those Twitter things, and you remember this greatly because I had to come home and talk about this one in depth. I ran into someone out in real life. This was months ago, and they started to tell me about, they knew I ran a YouTube channel and I covered this kind of stuff. So they wanted me to start reading about something called esoteric knowledge or something like that. And they tried to tell me that that the United States dollar is a fiat currency. Like, the American dollar is literally monopoly money, and the real money is called a petrodollar, which is some secret, super secret currency. For some reason he knows about it, but it's still super secret, and that's what gives the US monopoly money any value. And when he was saying this, if y'all to keep y'all up in the context, just a few days before he was telling me this, Saudi Arabia actually officially stated that the US dollar wasn't going to be their main exchange currency for petroleum-based purchases, which is what the petrodollar is. It's just US dollars being traded in the oil business, or being, moved around in the oil business. That's what the stupid moniker term comes from. And so the guy was saying, oh yeah, the petrodollar's collapsed, like the American dollar's really going to be plummeting now. And it's 2 months later, and it has not plummeted. And I'm like, like, I don't get how people can believe conspiracy theories like that, because it's like, this is like the craziest thing I have heard. Like, you're saying the money that the world uses as a reserve currency is fake. Like, it's like, how in the world can you say that, like, with a straight face and believe it? It's like, that doesn't even make any sense. It's like, what, is the renminbi fake? Like, or is the British pound sterling fake? Or the euro? It's like, why in the world would the fake money, compared to all the real money that this guy believes is real in the world, why in the world would the fake money be traded by everyone? Why wouldn't they trade real money if everyone knows it's fake? Like, that's something to me that it just blew my mind. Man, I can tell you, I came home from this thing and I was like, what the hell is wrong with people? I was like, how in the world can people believe crazy stuff like this? But anyways, with that,
you know what gives the conspiracy theory or conspiracy theorists some fuel, though, is occasionally someone will make up one of these theories and it'll just happen to be actually matching up with a real life event. Like, for example, there was people a long time ago saying, oh, the CIA is getting people off the street and they're putting them in psychiatric wards and they're doing horrific things to them. And everybody's like, oh, you're crazy. That's just a conspiracy theory. People were saying that all over the place. And then later it was declassified that the CIA actually was doing that. And they were pulling people into facilities and doing horrific things to them under a mind control project with some weird pseudoscience and stuff like that. But those type of events like that will embolden the theorists, and they'll think, see, I was right the whole time. It's like, well, you really didn't know that. You were just taking stabs at it. You'd heard some like talkings or rumors here and there, and you just started like building out a whole theory from like one little small rumor, and you just happened to be like coincidentally correct. It's like, that's what those people will do. They'll just get larger and larger with the theories and just go sideways until eventually it's just sounding crazy.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing, man. Like, but with things like that though, like whenever it actually gets to a conspiracy theory being true, it's always like, really, it's always something minor. Like, people are like, oh, people are getting injected with syphilis and Tuskegee, and everyone's like, oh, come on, that's stupid. And then it turns out to be true. But that's something that's easy to do. Like, you just literally go out with a syringe. You're like, okay, you're being inoculated, boom, and hit them with the syphilis. It's like, it's not that difficult. But when these conspiracy theories start getting into like the crazy world of, oh, there's millions of people in the U.S. government and all of them are in on this, it's like, you're telling me that all of these millions of people be able to keep a secret? It's like, do you look at the military? Like, doofus Corporal Bozo is going to trade an entire F-35 manual to the Chinese for $10,000 next week. Like, it's like, do you think all these people be able to keep a secret like that? It's like, no. It's like, that's why I can't believe in conspiracy theories at all, because if they were, like, especially the stupid big ones, it's like, because if that was true, someone would have come out and said that was the case. Like, the moon landings were faked. Like, it's like, how the hell can you believe that? It's like, we like send shit out of the solar system, like the Voyager. It's like, why in the world would we not be able to land someone on the moon? That doesn't make any sense at all, especially considering how technologically advanced we are even today. And then people go, well, they don't have the technology to redo it. It's like, yeah, because all the people who were put together to do this thing, which are in the hundreds of thousands, a lot of them are dead, and a lot of them took that knowledge with them. So you would have to completely rebuild a brand new rocket and go through all the testing and everything to do it. You just couldn't rebuild a Saturn V. Like, you couldn't rebuild an aircraft carrier if some specific people who were involved in the design process died. Or if certain shipbuilders disappeared, you wouldn't be able to rebuild certain aircraft carriers in specific ways. Like, that's how it works. Like, people don't get that. Like, important people can die inside of development circles, and that knowledge can just be lost. Like, that's how it works sometimes, on a lot of things, actually. Unless if it's patented, and unless if they teach a whole bunch of other people how that system works, then it could just go to the wayside. No one even knows how it works. Like the Turk. Like, the Turk is the best example. Let me show you all this really quickly, because the mechanical Turk, this thing right here, let me see if I can actually show y'all like a replica of it, because they have one.
Google has a mechanical Turk as well. It's a thing where you can like answer questions for Google and it helps their algorithm out.
Oh, you actually know a little bit about the mechanical Turk, like the real one, or just the Wikipedia one?
No, the Google Turk, like the that one.
So really quickly to explain this, because this is where the mechanical Turk thing comes from, Matthew, if you're wondering where that name came from. The mechanical Turk was a very weird thing that was invented at the very turn of the 19th century, so like 1801, kind of around there. Some guy invented this thing, and he said that it was a mechanical machine. It was like a computer that would be able to play chess and beat anyone. And this thing beat everyone. Like Napoleon played against it. It beat him. It beat chess masters at the time. It beat literally everybody. And what was very interesting about this machine is that nobody knew how it worked. And everyone kept on trying to figure out how it worked. And then finally, and this is to show y'all how poorly secrets are kept, about 40 to 50 years after this thing first went out into the world, and a lot of people said, wow, this mechanical Turk thing is magic. It's like literally beating everyone. They found out that what they did is that they had this secret compartment at the back of the thing, and a chess master would climb into this thing before the show began, and he would sit in there, and it was like a contraption using a whole bunch of magnets, like the little chess pieces were magnetized to the board, and when the chess pieces would move on the board up here, in plain view of everyone, the chess master in the hidden compartment in the back would see that, and he would be able to make the right moves to be able to defeat the person playing the thing. So the mechanical Turk was fake. Like, it never was real. It was not mechanical at all. It was just a guy sitting in a box. But for 50 years, people thought it was a real person until the person who owned the Turk actually just came out one day, and he was like, oh, since the Turk burned in a fire, because the original Turk ended up burning and being destroyed in a museum in like Boston or something, the guy who owned it came out and said, oh, by the way, I just want to let y'all know, like, that whole thing was a lie. Like, there was a guy inside the box the whole time. Like, he was a chess master. And everyone was like, oh, well, that's kind of lame. Like, we thought
wait a minute. So when people were trying to figure out how it worked and stuff like that, and they were examining the mechanics on the left side over there, they didn't figure, let's open the right side cabinet door and let's see who's, like, sitting up in here.
Let me tell you how it works, man, because it was very interesting how the illusion works. So the guy, I wish maybe they have a picture of the thing partitioned. I hope they do. Oh, I hope they do. Oh, here we go. Here it is. Oh, wait, hang on. Sorry, that's like an illustration of how they thought it worked. Let me see if I can find it. Damn, they don't have it. Okay, so the box is like a box, right? So the thing is that I got to go back up here to this picture and find it. So the thing is that the box goes all the way through backwards and forwards. And this little area over here to the left is the one that is really interesting, okay? Because the chess master guy would get in, and there's a little special compartment back here behind that green wall that you're seeing back there that he could slide around in on this little movable chair. And they made sure the little wheels this thing moved on were like super greased up so that you couldn't hear this guy sliding around in there. So what he would do is he would slide back all the way to where his legs were extended. So his feet would be in this compartment, but his body wouldn't be in this compartment where you could see it. And these drawers would be closed right here on the right side, but this one would be open, and the guy running the thing would go, look, see, it's completely empty. There's no people in here. And you open up a little hatch behind these gears, and he would put a candle into it so that way you could see that there was nothing in there. And for the audience watching, it looked like that little area in the thing was clear. And because of this fake partition in the back that you could see over here, because, at this point, this guy shoved the candle in on the left side, and he showed that he has his hand shoving through the back of this machine, and a candle's in there illuminating no one's in there. So it gives the illusion that this side goes all the way to the back of the machine as well. But actually, there's a guy inside of there. And so when he opened up these doors, he would say, look, see, there's nothing in there. And then people from the audience could come up and walk around this thing and look at it, and they wouldn't see anyone in there, and they wouldn't believe there was anyone in there either. So then once everyone sat down, they would close these drawers, and they would close this one as well. They would close them all. So the entire thing was closed off. And so what the guy inside of the Turk would do at this point is he would slide this partition thing right over here sideways to where it was over here now in the little like gear room thing, and then he would be able to come sit down right there on that little cushion, and then he would play the game from down there.
Man, that's a very elaborate like scam right there. Also, I would feel like a real sucker, not just for getting scammed by the mechanical Turk like the fake machine, but also getting scammed by a dude wearing the fur. Like dude's wearing a fur coat. like out here like a real pimp. It's like he's not only scamming people, man. He's got the whole fur to go with it.
Man, and but you know what made people believe that the Turk worked is that this thing was articulate. Like the arm could move. Like the Turk would actually move this arm right here and pick up the pieces and move it around. And that was also controlled by the chess master guy down here inside of the box, pretty much. But this whole thing.
How much? What were they scamming people for money or something? Because why wouldn't the chess master just play chess like himself? Why were they doing all this?
Well, the reason why was because it was supposed to be some kind of like an oddity. Like they would say, oh, the mechanical Turk is showing up to town, and people would be like, huh, that's kind of cool. And they would set this thing up on a stage, and they would let you pay admittance to come into the theater and sit down and watch someone try and play against the Turk. And that's how they made money.
Oh, so they were scamming admission or something. That's crazy. Well, so the whole time they're going around with the machine, they're like just getting admission fees, and then they're running to the next place and doing it somewhere else.
Kind of, sort of, yeah. But the thing was, though, man, it's not really a scam. It's more like one of those magic trick things. You know, like magic is BS. You know, like there's no such thing as magic. But it's the illusion that draws people in, and they're very interested in how it works. And that's what was kind of the fascination with the mechanical Turk, is that everyone wanted to show up and see it and try and see if they could figure out how it will work. But dude, what is the best thing ever is that in 1827, this thing was, I think, in Chicago, and they were doing a show with it there. And two kids were sitting on like the back area of the theater, and there was an opening in the roof where they could look down in there, and they actually saw the guy who owned it lift open the lid, and the chess master guy inside of it was getting out, and the kids were like, oh my god, there's a person in it. And they went to the local paper and reported it to the paper. The paper published a story and said that there was the Turk is a lie, there's a guy in it, just running the machine. And then a few days later, under mysterious circumstances, the newspaper retracted the claim in the next publication of their paper and said that that wasn't true, and these were just two silly kids telling a story, and they didn't know what they were talking about. No one knows why the paper did it. They think it's because the guy who owned the Turk came up to him and said, hey, look, you can't do that. You're going to ruin, like, my whole business here. And so they went, oh, okay, we'll retract it. They don't really know why they did that, though. Like, the answer isn't clear. But still...
Yeah, that chess master came out and turned gangster all of a sudden. He said, take that out the paper. You're gonna get burned.
Dude, he said, you better take that out that paper, or you're gonna get the blinky on you. Like you're gonna be getting inked in a minute. But
man, he's wearing that fur for a reason, man. He's not a pushover, he's a pimp.
Man, but anyways, also Amy Macy, you're right. It was built to impress the Empress of Austria, but beyond that, it kind of became like a money-making thing for everyone else who owned it. Like even the guy who made it to impress the Empress of Austria eventually just started traveling around Europe with the thing and charging admittance for people to watch the thing work. So yeah, it was made mostly for that reason, but in the end, it ended up becoming a money-making venture for everyone else, for everyone who owned it. But still, beyond that, the whole reason of me telling y'all this elaborate mechanical Turk story is to tell y'all people aren't good at keeping secrets. Like if that guy had kept that secret, no one would have ever known how the mechanical Turk worked. But he disclosed a secret, and that was just one guy. And one guy couldn't even hold the secret on how this thing worked. So imagine if millions of people were involved in something. How many of them would be able to keep that secret? Not a lot of them. And that's my whole point of telling that story. But anyways, with that, I hope that does address that incredibly well about that whole deal and using the mechanical Turk as an example. But still, thank you so much once again for support. I hope that does address that well. And thank you once again, JMP Traveler, for being here forever, by the way. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one here is going to go to, let's see, F. Russia, who puts in a $20 donation, and thank you very much for that support. And I'm not sure what they said here, unfortunately. Do you know what this means?
I have no idea what that means, man. That looks like some of that like Super Zaza extra sticky. Like I'm like, I don't know what that means. Like I don't know what it means, man. But still, thank you so much for the support, F Russia, and helping this channel to keep on running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible. And so with that, thank you so much once again, and we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one goes to Point of Guinness, who puts in a 20 as well. And thank you very much, Point of Guinness, for your support as well. Hey! Ding dong, ding dong. That's kind of sounded wrong, I'm not gonna lie. He said, delivering a 2-group birthday cake for Matt with an LSA topping. And thank you very much, Point of Guinness, for that support. I didn't have a birthday cake, sadly. No birthday cake. Well, actually, not sadly. I opted out of the birthday cake, but I got the cookies, and the cookies were good. Crumble cookies. I'll say the name of it. Good cookies. I love those cookies. Very, very full of sugar, though. Probably not good to eat all the time, but I rarely ever get them. So they were very good. But Enforcer, what say you?
I gotta thank you so much for the support as well. The crumble cookies were really good. And thank you so much for delivering a little cake with an LC topping. We love it. Hey! And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one. Thank you once again.
And this one goes to Uncle Sam's Misguided Child, who puts in a 20. And thank you very much, Uncle Sam, and the Misguided Child. He said, "We get whoa,
what happened?
Get we done, LSA. Grow the cookie. Money.
There's three of them. But I thought it was going to be like money. I was like, okay, well, maybe not. But still, thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. Uncle Sam's Misguided Child. What a misguided child. But still, thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And thank you for helping us to make this channel possible. And thank you for helping us to grow the cookie fund, because the cookies are good. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And we are on to the next one.
And we have a $20 super chat from Ben Ite. And thank you very much, Ben. He says, happy birthday, Enforcer Matt. And thank you very much for the happy birthday wishes as well. He said, my question here is, are the Chinese taking a page out of America's diplomatic enforcer book, trying to play both sides of the Ukraine war and puppet master, or are they entertaining something more strategic?
China never does anything for the hell of it. That's one thing for certain. China does things in the grand strategy of things. They would rather not get involved in anything if it isn't a part of a grand strategy of theirs, or if there is something clearly new that would pop up that would help them out with an implementation of a grand strategy. So, in my opinion, Chinese involvement in this war is a part of a grand strategy. That's why it's so limited and it's so curtailed, and that's why I keep saying that Ukraine shouldn't have anything to do with China, is because it's clearly curtailed and it's not a major involvement. So why actively avail yourselves to the Chinese when you don't have to? It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But still, I hope that does address that fairly well, at least in my opinion. And thank you so much once again, Ben Knight, once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we're on to the next one.
All right, and our next super chat is going to go to Bass Reeves. He puts in a 10. He says, number one, you're not even close to being old. Well, thank you. Number two, thank you for all y'all do. I love watching the stream. And also, we're very glad to hear that as well. And number three, please keep apolitical. Besides pro-Western, that is a major reason why I keep watching. And thank you very much, Bass, for the kind words. Also, one thing I think the Enforcer and me definitely agree on at this point, we should definitely stay apolitical, because the other pro-Ukraine channels are absolutely nuking themselves by going political. And not only are they nuking their own channels, they're also hurting the Ukraine cause by turning it into a very, very partisan issue and alienating about 50% of America by doing that. They're not helping Ukraine out whatsoever, and they're being very self-serving by being political and also trying to involve Ukraine in it. So I don't like that at all. In fact, I think that's quite a bad thing to do. So, Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that those folks are reaping what they're sowing, and I got to say that it is beautiful to watch, and I get a good laugh out of it. I'm not going to lie. We may be part of a pro-Ukraine community. We're really the only channel that I know of that's really just pro-Western. Like, yes, we're pro-Ukrainian, but that's part of a larger pro-Western framework. Like, we don't get into the stupid divvyings of others where we're pro-Ukrainian but anti-Israel, or we're pro-Taiwan yet anti-Ukraine, or some stupid semblance like that. We are pro everything that's within Western interests. So we're pro-Ukraine, pro-Israel, and pro-Taiwan, because it's all supporting Western causes and Western interests and putting us at inherent advantages over our adversaries. We're really the only channel that does that. And it's something I'm very proud of, because I feel like it's a much more common sense approach than trying to pick favorites and then cast away others. And that's something that I've seen recently. And you said keep it apolitical. I will make sure to keep it apolitical, because whenever we talk about anything pertaining to politics, which is very rare, we always make sure that it's a fair critique of both sides, or a fair praise of both sides simultaneously, so that way we don't show any inherent bias towards one side or the other. And I will make a critique towards both sides right now. One of them, at least publicly, is anti-Ukraine yet pro-Israel, and the other one is anti-Israel yet pro-Ukraine. And I'm not getting it, because why in the world are people having to pick and choose which Western interests do they find important while the other one can just get pissed on when both of them should be supported? That's something that I'm not really getting a lot anymore, because like no one looks at this anymore from a strategic perspective of, well, it doesn't really matter whether we like the people living in these countries or not. It's a matter of what will benefit the United States at the end of the day, and supporting Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan would support the United States at the end of the day. But yet people want to split hairs and go, well, I don't really like Ukraine, but I like Israel, or I don't really like Israel, but I like Ukraine. It's like, that's a really, like, I don't even know how people are doing the gymnastics in their head to go, well, one of them's a strategic interest, but the other one, which literally plays into the exact same talking points, is not a strategic interest. I'm not getting that lately, and that's also a reason why it's very easy for me to avoid any kind of serious political discussion, because like right there, I don't really see where in the world anyone's coming from with ditching one and supporting the other, or vice versa. Or, you know, pick any country you want and use that. I don't really get how in the world people are justifying those kinds of stances these days. And so it makes it very easy for me to go, you know what, we're not going to talk politics, because it's something that I generally find to be nonsensical. But beyond that, thank you so much for saying we're not even close to being old. That is reassuring to know, and I got to thank you for that. It's very kind of you to say. And also, thank you so much for watching the stream and enjoying it, and thank you so much for enjoying our apolitical talk on the show, and just being pro-Western, and that's it. Just so many people just don't do that. Like, you know, I was talking about that a little bit just a moment ago, but speaking about the pro-Ukraine world directly, I don't know what it is, but all of them decided it's time for us to become political at like the same time. Like Matthew and me both saw it. Like everyone started putting out political videos on their channels, and I was like, that is a stupid idea, because like Matthew said, they're going to be alienating half of everyone, and pretty much everyone in America is pretty happy with supporting Ukraine, being honest. But then you have these stupid people out there who go, you know what, it's not good enough having the whole pie. Half the pie is evil and terrible and ridiculous, and we need to alienate them ourselves for the better good, although that's only going to sink the ship. That's like saying the back half of the ship is starting to rot, so let's just cut the ship down the middle and let it sink, because it'd be better to sink than let the ship float with a rotten stern, or something like that. That makes no sense at all from a logic perspective, and that's how people
also remember these were the same people, the ones that have gone really political, that are pro-Ukrainian YouTubers. These were the same people saying that Ukraine was not a partisan issue, and both sides should support Ukraine because it's NATO security. And now, all of a sudden, now that they're having an issue coming up with more content for videos, now they're reversing on that statement completely, jumping right into politics, right in the middle of it, literally putting names of politicians in the title, and also including Ukraine behind it. Yeah, and also tying in Ukraine to a certain political party. It's like, isn't that like literally going against your own like doctrine and your own morals and your own opinion? It's like, and it's obvious why they're doing it. It's like they're doing it for money. They're trying to get more views. They're trying to get more of an audience. But at the same time, the only people they're hurting is the Ukrainian cause, because now the Ukrainian cause is going to be associated with one political party, and the other one's going to look at it like, oh, if I support that, I support that party, and I'm not going to do that. And it's only hurting Ukraine.
Yeah, it's such a stupid thing, but I will say this, while it's a stupid thing, and it's something to really marvel at the stupidity of everyone who's doing it, and I'm not holding back any blows there. If you see a YouTube channel that has put out a political video or has tied Ukraine to American domestic politics over the past week, I'm talking about them, every single one of them. This is not reserved for one person or a small group of people. This is every single one of them. I find that to be stupid, and it looks like a lot of them are paying the price for that stupidity, because their viewership is plummeting. Like, most of them have gone down from their normal viewership to about a third of what they used to get. Channels that used to get 120,000 views are only getting 30,000 views now. Channels that used to get 300,000 views are only getting 100,000 views now. And I say that serves them right, because not only are they sabotaging pro-Western and pro-Ukrainian interests, they're also starting to divide an entire community that so far has been pretty homogenous in its belief of supporting Ukraine and helping it out. They're now dividing it artificially for absolutely no reason when there was never any need to do so. And so to those people, they're getting their just desserts, and I'm more than happy to see it, because finally the buck has come back to bite them. And so with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. I sound very aggressive with those kinds of statements there, but I'll be entirely honest with you. I didn't really like many of those people in the first place. We've never had any good dealings with any of them, and seeing them shoot themselves in the foot, in a figure of speak, is something that I have to say I actually find quite a good bit of laughter out of, because it's like, you know, we've sat here forever, and we've said this since I've said this since I started, and then Matthew saw exactly what I was seeing and picked up the line and towed it as well, that domestic American politics doesn't belong in everything, and you can unite everyone on a single common cause, and our common cause is supporting Ukraine, and in a large sense all Western interests around the world. We've united our entire community here in the Lee Spring Army on that one cause. Nothing else matters. We're not getting into the weeds on anything else. It's just that. And then other people wanted to sit there while we've done that forever. We set the standard in this community. We were one of the first out there to cover this kind of news. Everyone else hops in July and late 2022 after we really set the standard on what the reporting on this war looks like. And then they want to go, well, they're stupid, and, you know, they're obnoxious, and they joke around on their stream. Let me go cry and be a sobbing bitch for 2 years in the war, and then at the end of it, let me be so appreciative of really dampening everyone's spirits for 2 years, and let me go and split the Ukraine war community in two. Each and every single one of them deserves the low viewership they're getting, and I hope that most of them end up falling into obscurity from that, because that was a stupid move on their end. But with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. And with that, we're on to the next one. Thank you so much once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running.
Yes, indeed. And our next one here goes to Leora Avdiivka, who puts in a $10 donation. Hey! And they said, happy birthday to Enforcer Matt, and many more. And thank you very much, Leora, for the happy birthday wishes as well. And hopefully I shall have many more, God willing. And thank you very much for that support. And we also have a $10 support from Tom Exman. He says, let's have a marmot and a birthday hat.
Hey! Hey! Alan! Well, you know what, Matthew? We have to get it with a birthday hat. We have to go to Canva. Hang on, I gotta go get it a birthday hat.
Put a hat on him.
Put a hat on him. So let's see here. Make a copy. Yeah, we're gonna see how the thumbnail was put together for tonight. Boom, boom, boom.
We have a fat mama.
And then we want to get rid of no escape because we don't want that on our marmot picture. So here we go. Boom. There we go. We got the marmot.
Yeah. Bring him out.
Oh, hello. And so let me go take this off screen so that way I can go look for my PNG. And let me go find it.
Hello there, Governor. Sitting on a canvas on Canva, waiting for a birthday hat PNG clip art. Could we please get some free clip art with a birthday hat? Meanwhile, that pesky fly sitting there right next to that fat tail, barely dodging, flattening from that tail. Unfortunate.
Keep filibustering like that's taking a hot minute to find something. Damn it!
It's the dunce hat. I said a birthday cat and the dunce hat. But also we have some grapes, plums. We got those over there on the left. Whoa, Jack! We got some cornflakes. Oh, well. Anyways, the marmots.
Why is it so
damn, man! I don't have much more content.
I know. I'm trying to find one. There's not a lot of good ones, man. I mean, what am I supposed to do, Jack? Like, just find one out. Thin air? What the hell? Oh my god, dude, it's so freaking hard to find them. I can't find one. Like they're all like garbage. Like they're all like little 2D things. Like I'm looking for a 3D. You know what? I'm just gonna go with a 2D one because we don't have anything else better right now. So let me just grab this one. Boom.
Hey, there we go. Oh, I feel like I'm having a party, Governor.
Oh, hello there. Would you like a party?
I'm not gonna lie, the marmot's looking awfully darky with that hat.
Man, you know what? I think we ought to get him a better hat. We ought to get him that let me go get this. Man. Hold up. Let's see. Hang on, hold up, man. Hold up. Oh my goodness. Dude. Hang on, man. This is gonna be so freaking good. Oh my goodness. Hang on, I gotta find a larger one. Dude, why are they all so freaking small? Hang on.
Why are they all so freaking small? I need a larger one.
Oh, here
Bring
we
me
go.
back.
Wait a minute. Let me move the fly up in frame. Oh my goodness.
Oh man.
No, dang it. Why is it so freaking big?
What the hell is that?
Hang on.
I'm seeing legs, hairy legs.
My legs, they turn blind in the sun. But let me... Dang, man. It was way too large to start off with. I pity the fool that has a haircut like this.
Oh, man, what the hell? I was not expecting that. What in the world, man? Pink pants. I was not expecting those.
Wait. Hang on, man. Hang on. Let me go get the mustache really quick, and I'm sure that many people will know exactly what this is. Oh, buddy. No, buddy. Oh, my goodness. And it's a perfect match, Matthew. You know who this guy is?
I can't see.
Hang on. Let me...
Oh, shite. It's him. Oh, shite.
It's Dr. Disrespect. Look at that.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Look at that.
Ah, well, he's canceled, so we don't have to worry about it. So, Matthew, I got a question for you, Matthew. What do you get when you take the fly, Mr. T's hair, and Dr. Disrespect's mustache? What do you get?
You get one dumb YouTuber.
Yeah! You get Hot Dog Man. Like, you get it dead on the nail. Like, that is literally what it is. Like, I wish, we're not going to give that guy publicity. I will joke on that guy and clown on him on this stream, but I'm not giving him publicity at all. But I just wish we could take that guy's goofy face from a thumbnail or something and put it up here as a comparison so that way y'all could see what I'm talking about, because it's literally that mustache, that hair on a face. It's not a good look.
I think it's all fake.
Oh, man, I don't think so, because he's kind of stupid like that to do something like that. I'm not going to lie, man. Oh, man.
Oh, man. I said, let me change my look. Let me change my look to be a mixture of this Dr. Disrespect guy who did something we shall not name, and also this Mr. T, because I've always admired Mr. T's haircut. Let me go get it. What'd he do? Show up to the barber and then show him a picture of Mr. T and said, I want that.
You know what? You know what's even better, Matthew, is that the Dr. Disrespect thing happened, right? Like, and he admitted it pretty much. And so then Hot Dog Man went, he's my hero, and then went and shaved his goatee. Like how in the world do you work that? Like, that is the worst time in the world to get a mustache identical to Dr. Disrespect's. Like, that is the worst time ever.
I think there might be it might be more than a coincidence. It might actually be intentional. What if he was like, what if it's actually like that's his idol or something like that? It could be.
What if he's one of those people? You know what I mean? Like, like the ones that sound like there's some kind of an instrument that's used in cartography, if you know what I mean. Like the ones that are on a piece of paper that you lay out and you look at and it shows you like the world, and the abbreviation of that stands for something that's very questionable.
I don't know what that means, but I'll go with it.
Hang on. I'm gonna send it to you.
If it's something horrific, just leave it be.
No. I'm gonna send it to you. Don't read it on air, but. So I put the abbreviation after it. I said, so read that, because that's what I'm talking about. What if he did it because he's one of those? Like, what if?
It could be. Oh, man, it could be. Oh, we don't know.
Man,
it could be.
You're really mature for your age. Oh, man. That freaks me out, man. That really does. But beyond that, we got the fly. We got the marmot. The marmot did have the party hat for a little bit. And I got to say, thank you so much for the support, Tom Exman, and helping this channel to keep on running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible, and we wouldn't be able to keep this thing rolling. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. With that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and this one goes to Bob Dole. Bob Dole. He just puts in a $10 donation. He said, I could end this war with a single mildly worded letter to Putin, asking him politely but firmly to knock it off. He said, I used all my paper to make paper cranes, so don't expect it to stop anytime soon.
Dang, Bob Dole is words of wisdom, Bob Dole. I gotta thank you for the support, and I gotta say that's a pretty funny one right there. I appreciate that. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that incredibly well, and thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And this one goes to Seb SK, who puts in a $10 donation and says, I work with a lot of reception classes, and often there's many Ukrainians, and went fishing with some, and try say Slav Ukraine, and you'll find out what unity looks like, and the Russians will never understand this.
They never will, Sebsk, and I agree with you completely. Unity is something that Ukraine certainly has, because they're a country that's all united under the threat of invasion by a foreign power, and that's a very uniting thing in a conflict. And so with that, I thank you so much once again for the support, Sebsk, and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, Matthew, I got to read this next one, Matthew, because I saw this come in, and with my limited Chinese knowledge, I actually knew what this said, like, off the bat. Do you know what it says, Matthew?
Cake.
No. John Person said, I hope you're full of bing chilling for your birthday. Ice
Bing
cream.
chilling.
It's bing chilling. It's ice cream. That's what that is.
Well, I thank you very much, John Person. Sadly, I did not have any ice cream or bing chilling on my birthday, but if I had some, I would say, wash out, bing chilling.
Man, you go, ni hao ba xing, 我是黄, bing chilling, 就是张国, 美国, something like that. But anyways, thank you so much once again for support, John Person, and helping this channel to keep on running. That is incredible to know that you put in some Chinese, or Mandarin more so, in your super chat. And I thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because it is folks like you who help to make this thing possible. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one goes to Mr. Lunchtime, who's back once again, the channel legend. And also, I literally just noticed that he has the profile picture of the shirt design that we had at one point, or the Mr. Lunchtime shirt. I forgot about that design. I have not seen that in a long time. So that's very cool to see. And also, thank you very much for the $20 support. And he said, happy birthday to Enforcer Matt. And thank you very much for Mr. Lunchtime. I appreciate it very much. And I hope you're doing well, Mr. Lunchtime. We haven't seen you in a good minute. And also, thank you very much for that support as well. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I gotta say a huge thank you so much as well, Mr. Lunchtime, for that support and helping this channel keep on running. Thank you for wishing Matthew a happy birthday as well. You have joined the chorus tonight who have wished Matthew a happy birthday, which is thousands of people, which has been really cool to see. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And we are on to the next one.
And our next one is going to go to Robert Johnson, who put in a 5, and also Mamba Mentality, who put in a 4. Huge shout out to Robert and Mamba very much for that support. No comments to address, but we appreciate it very much. And we also have a 5 from Thomas Kruger, who says, happy birthday to Enforcer Matt. And Eric S. also put in a 5 and said, happy birthday, you rock, man. And thank you both Thomas and Eric for the happy birthday wishes as well. Like I said, a great birthday indeed, and also a happy belated one today. And thank you all for the happy birthday wishes, and I appreciate it very much as well. And we also had, guess what, another one, another $5 super chat from Phobos Anomaly, who said, happy birthday to Matt, and 24. Wow, still very young, and don't worry. And all the best to you, and greetings from Slovenia. And also, shout out to Slovenia, by the way, all the way from Slovenia, wishing me a happy birthday. I appreciate that very much. And also,
what?
I guess 24 is pretty young. It is pretty young, actually. I feel old, but I'm actually pretty young still. I guess I should count the blessings, they say. But Enforcer, what say you?
What does a beach look like in Slovenia? It's on the Adriatic, so it's got to look pretty nice, right? Like, here's a beach. What does it look like? It's made up of seashells.
Huh. On the seashores.
On the seashore. Look at that. It's nothing but seashells. Like, that is weird. That is kind of cool, though. But this area of the Adriatic kind of looks a little swampy. Is there another part that we can get? Okay, so there's a beach up here. Okay, that's a plaza. That's not a beach. How about this one? This looks like a beach. This is a beach. That is nice. That is really nice right there. Dude, why can't we have beaches like these? Like, look at that. You can even see the ships out there at port. Like, dang, man. That is cool looking.
Man, we only have beaches with troubled waters here.
Man, I'm telling you what, man. We be going through those troubled waters. Eternal Father. But anyways, still, with that, thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep it running. Thank you for wishing Matthew a happy birthday all the way from Slovenia. Really cool country. Really, a little small country in Europe, but still really cool nonetheless, with a very interesting history. And thank you so much once again for helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And guess what? We had Sully Canuck, who made it at the last minute on the stream. He put in a $20 super chat, Canadian. And thank you very much, Sully, for that support. He said, happy birthday to you, Matt, from an old vet. And I appreciate it from old vet. Sully Canuck, I appreciate the happy birthday wishes, and thank you very much for the support as well. And I did have a very good birthday indeed, and I appreciate it. And Enforcer, what say you?
And I got to thank you as well, Sully Canuck, for the support and wishing Matthew a happy birthday. And thank you for being our Royal Canadian Navy veteran. And that is incredibly cool to know that you're one of our viewers from London, Ontario. And thank you for wishing Enforcer Matt a happy birthday and being an old guard as well, which is incredibly cool. And with that, thank you once again. And we are on to the next one.
And up next, we have a 2 from LSA Sergeant Figment, who says, LSA hit the like button. That's an order.
And LSA hit that like button. That's an order from none other than LSA Sergeant Figment. We've gotten up to 3,200 likes tonight nearly, which is really high, actually. That's wildly high. And I got to say a huge thanks to everyone who has hit the like button so far. And if you haven't, hit that thing. Hit it good. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to, I've almost lit my face on fire, and don't do that, please. Please be safe. They put in a $2 donation and said, happy birthday, Matt, and thank you very much. And I hope the face is okay. I hope the face is okay. But thank you very much for the birthday wishes as well, and I appreciate it very much. And we also had a $2 super chat from Sunday Morning Mass Radio Show, and they said, happy birthday, and thank you. And what's your secret to have such a strong voice? And there really is no secret. I was born this way with a strong voice. Just happened to be. I was always told, man, you sound like you should go into voiceovers or radio. Well, guess what? I'm not on the radio, but I'm on YouTube now, so I guess that works. I'm fine. I got the voice out there. But thank you very much for the compliment and also the happy birthday wishes as well. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say thank you so much for wishing Enforcer Matt a happy birthday. And as far as the secret to having a strong voice, well, hell, I wouldn't know. Because you asked Matty that question. Apparently, I got a weak voice for weakness. But beyond that, I'm just kidding with you. Thank you for the support, though, and helping this channel to keep on running. This is amazing to have folks like you here with us each and every day, enjoying this news, watching it, and enjoying it. And so with that, thank you so much once again. And with that, we're now moving on into the live chats. But as many of y'all may have noticed, we're running overtime right now. It is 3 hours and 30 minutes that we've been on air. And at this point, from this point forward, we usually consider that overtime, as the longest streams we usually run are about 3.5 hours long exactly. Or 3 hours long at the shortest on normal nights. Sunday night fundraisers, though, they're usually like 2.5 hours. But anyways, moving on from that little talk. And also, Seb said, man, you have all fantastic poops today. Thank you for the support. I mean, I got to say that is some great shit right there. But that's some good shit.
Keep the bowels moving.
Man, I got to tell you, man, you got to keep those bowels moving, because if one thing is surely moving, it's my bowels. But so I'm just kidding. Thank you for the support, Sebs. And also with that, we are running out of time, and we're actually over time by about 2 minutes now. So we are going to be addressing the Morse code decoders of the stream, and then 3 live chat questions due to time concerns, and then we're going to be rounding out so that way we can go to sleep, wake up tomorrow, hopefully make a short war video, and then get right back to work on another stream. And so with that, Matthew, what do we got?
All right, and first up, we have our Morse code decoders of the stream. Tonight, we had Cliff Simonson, Mark Hodges, Earl Bernew, Paul Schultz, Kevin J. Rumpelstiltskin, and David Millsaps. They said the Morse code says Ukraine is cutting off all exits to make sure that no roads will lead to Moscow, only surrender, and LSA.
And that's the sound of money. I changed up the little ding-ding noise, but beyond that, that is the sound of money. And I got to say, y'all hit that dead on the nail. That was impressive. Y'all hit that jackpot. I got to say, I'm always impressed. 881st day of the war, and y'all still getting that right. Shoo! Y'all are the Lee Spring Army Signal Corps. Y'all are impressive, and I got to say, good job on doing that again. And with that, we are on to the third to last question of the night.
And this one goes to Anthony Boer, who says, Matt, do you think that the Russians are trying to get into a war with NATO? And if you're asking me specifically, I would say the Russians aren't trying to really get into a war with NATO on their own. Like I was kind of saying earlier, I think that the Russians would like to take a shot at NATO, but they know they can't do it unless they have all of their allies, meaning the entire new Axis powers, behind them and backing them up. They know that they can't stand on their own 2 feet, because they can't even stand on their own 2 feet inside of Ukraine, which the Russians tried to claim was a weak country. And it turns out that the Russians were actually the weak country and not Ukraine whatsoever. So The Russians need all that help, so if they can ever get the support of all their allies, then I think they might try to take a crack at NATO someday, maybe in the future, maybe 5 years from now. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that ain't that bad of a thinking, Matthew. I gotta say, I'm proud of you. You really covered all the topics that I was gonna cover. So I'd say Matthew kind of got that one for me. But with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. And Matthew, are we on to the second to last question of the night or the final question of the night?
So those are the second last question of the night. And this question right here goes to Geek Hippie, who says, do both of you pick the subjects for the breaking news segments? And good job there. And no, that's completely on Andrew for the stream. He does the breaking news segments.
I put together all the news for every stream every night. As far as the short war videos go, that's kind of like a laissez-faire kind of a thing. Just kind of use some advanced terminology right there. I'm just kidding, but that pretty much just means whatever goes. But Matthew, when we're making short war videos in the day, he actually gets to pick his own breaking news topics and cover those on his own. And that's something that y'all may notice is that Matthew and me focus on different topics in our videos. Like, I consider things breaking news that Matthew doesn't consider as breaking news, and vice versa. So that's actually something really interesting, is that you kind of see different things focused on depending on the day of who's covering the short war summaries. But as far as the breaking news segments go on the night streams, that's all on me. Like, I make the entire thing every single night, 6 days a week for the live streams. But with that, I hope that does address that well. Really good question, though. And with that, we are on to the final question of the night. And so, who is the lucky last person through in the lucky last question of the night?
And that viewer is Darren Quinn. He says, when the Kerch Bridge is going to be taken out to stop the Ruski supplies, does it need to be done soon? Is it that crucial?
I would say it's not necessarily that crucial, but it should be ticking upwards on the priority scale, because the Russians are going to start using it as their only supply corridor. Really, honestly, I would say, speaking, not wanting to be too sensationalist here, but this is the prime time to hit the bridge, because the ferry crossings are down, the railway and the road ferries are both down, so the bridge is going to be the only thing used in the strait for a short while. So if you knock that out as well, you are certainly going to be eking out several days at a minimum where there's absolutely no cross-strait activity and no supplies are moving across the strait. So really today or tomorrow would be the best day to hit the bridge, but that is too short of a timetable for Ukraine to work off of. So they probably are going to be waiting in a big picture kind of an idea or mindset for the bridge to become important over a longer period of time instead of a short period of time like this. But I would say that it's certainly moving towards being a top priority in Ukraine's decision making. But with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. And we have reached the end of tonight's stream. And I've got to say, what a night it's been. 76,000 people have watched this stream while we're live. That is a wildly high amount. That means that by the time we wake up tomorrow in the morning, probably about 110 or 120,000 people will have watched this stream, which is pretty crazy to think, because YouTube is telling us that only 6.1 thousand people were here at the peak, and I know their asses are lying, because with that kind of viewership, it's about 9,000 or higher than that live viewers that are all on at one point. So we'll probably find that out in about a day or two, how many of y'all actually were here, and I hate to say that, because it almost sounds schizophrenic on my end, because I'm like, there's people that are here, but they're not, and but we know that they are, because YouTube's underreporting the number every day, and we keep seeing that as evidence behind the scenes. Maybe we'll put something out on the community post about that, and hopefully everyone will at YouTube and try and tell them to fix this issue, because I think this might be affecting everyone, or just us, I'm not really sure. But still, I thank you all so much once again for watching. The folks I can see on our control board, and the folks I can't see on the control board. But if you did enjoy, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. We run this stream 6 days a week. This is the beginning of a brand new stream week for us, so we're going to be running this stream at the exact same time every single night, the entire week except for Monday. Every Monday we take the day off and we do not run a live stream. It's kind of like a mandatory rest day, but every other day we are on this stream covering this news just like we did tonight. And so with that, I thank you all so much once again for watching. Good night, good luck, take care, stay safe, Slava Ukraini, and long live the Lee Spring Army. The Lee Spring Army will never die.
Yes, and that is true. The Leaf Spring Army shall never die. And once again, thank you all for another great stream tonight. And of course, huge shout out to everybody for the birthday wishes. It means a lot to hear it from the entire audience, and I appreciate it very much. One more down in the books. 24 years old. Crazy to see. But anyways, we'll see you all tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern on our next Nightly War News stream. And also, I'll see you midday tomorrow on the Short War video if there's enough news to cover. And with that, get some rest. Slav Ukraine. Hiram Slava. And we'll see you all tomorrow. And good night.
Yes. The Leaf Spring Army sends its regards.